In the name of Allah, the entirely merciful, the especially merciful.
قل هو الله أحد.
Say, He is Allah, who is one.
الله الصمد.
Allah, the eternal refuge.
لم يلد ولم يولد.
He neither begets nor is born.
ولم يكن له كفوا أحد.
Nor is there to him any equivalent.
अब प्लीज आप लोगों से रिक्वेस्ट है कि नेशनल एंथम के लिए खड़े हो जाएं. हेलो, आज गोल्डन जुबली सेलिब्रेशन वीक का आखिरी दिन है और दिस इज द राइट मोमेंट जब मैं आप सबका शुक्रिया अदा करूं. इट्स अ लॉन्ग जर्नी. एक कोर कमेटी बनी, पहले डिसाइड हुआ कि ये गोल्डन जुबली सेलिब्रेट करनी है. इट्स आइडिया ऑफ आवर रिस्पेक्टेड वाइस चांसलर कि भाई गोल्डन जुबली सेलिब्रेशन क्यों नहीं कर रहे हैं आप लोग. And it was announced during his visit to US. And then a core committee is formed जिसमें मैं, तकी आजम साहब आपके सामने बैठे हैं, एग्जीक्यूटिव डायरेक्टर JSMU आना, डॉक्टर आमिर, डॉक्टर यूनुस. हम लोगों ने तादाद में सुबह देख रही थी अनगिनत जूम मीटिंग फॉर द लास्ट 4.5 months. ये ऐसा नहीं होता कि एक प्रोग्राम आपके सामने सक्सेसफुल आ जाए, उसके पीछे बहुत सारी एफर्ट्स होती है. वी स्टार्टेड विद अ वीकली मीटिंग और आखिर में ये था कि डेली जूम मीटिंग होती थी. तो हम सबके घर वाले इस बात के आदी हो चुके थे कि या तो रात के पाकिस्तान में रात के 12 बजे जूम मीटिंग शुरू हो जाएगी और इनको एकोमोडेट करना होता था मेरे टाइमिंग्स के हिसाब से भी. So it's a difficult journey, but alhamdulillah, it's a successful journey. So I'm thankful first of all to the Vice Chancellor for his trust on me, believing in me, और उनका बहुत बहुत शुक्रिया. इसके बाद मैं अपने कोर कमेटी का सबसे पहले शुक्रिया अदा करना चाहूँगी for their constant support. इस प्रोसेस में मैंने बहुत सी दोस्तियाँ, मजीद दोस्तियाँ कर ली और बहुत से ताल्लुकात और बेहतर हो गए. जैसे being an SMCN, मैं लास्ट 41-42 ईयर से एसएमसी से वाबस्ता हूँ और अब जब यहाँ जॉब कर रही हूँ तो पिछले 10 साल से 8 साल से यहाँ और हूँ. लेकिन थ्रू आउट द जर्नी आई फाउंड माई एलुमनाई टू बी वेरी सपोर्टिव एंड दे प्ले अ ट्रेमेंडस रोल. मुझे नहीं याद कि मैंने कभी इन लोगों से कुछ कहा और इन्होंने रिफ्यूज किया. ऐसा भी हुआ है कि मैंने इनको कहा है कि एक स्टूडेंट है जिसके फादर एसएमसीएन थे और उनकी डेथ हो गई है और उसको फीस के लिए कुछ अमाउंट चाहिए और विद इन अ वीक टाइम चाहिए. अब सोचिए आप वहां पे कमेटी, एग्जीक्यूटिव कमेटी होती है, उसका अप्रूवल चाहिए होता है. दे जस्ट आस्क्ड मी टू confirm this case. मैंने documentation भेजी and within 2 to 3 days one of them sent the money through his personal account कि बाद में होती रहेगी adjustment. So this is the role. We should give him a big hand of applause. ये alumni है, इनमें से एक जिसको मैंने जब पुकारा they are always there. नगमाना को कहा कि अगर सेशन लेना है तो नगमाना इज ऑलवेज देयर. रिजवान नईम को कहा तो रिजवान नईम है. जावेद का बहुत सपोर्टिव रोल है. आई एम इन दिस यूनिवर्सिटी जस्ट बिकॉज ऑफ हिम. اور یہ سفر اتنا آسان نہیں تھا اس کو سیلیبریٹ کرنے کا، اور تمام پروگراموں کو، 1 ہفتے کے پروگرام آپ سوچیں ان کو کرنا، اٹس ناٹ اے جوک. اور یہ ایک پوری اس میں اگر اپنی ٹیم کو اپریشیٹ نہیں کروں، ڈاکٹر فرا کو، ان کی فرینڈ کو، اور میری تمام ڈپارٹمنٹ کے لوگ، میں نام بھی لینا چاہوں گی، آصف بھائی، مرتضی، واجد، فیصل and Shah Zeb especially taking care of all the accounts for us, and I am also thankful to the student council for their tremendous support. Hands off to them. یہ کل کو المنائی بنیں گے ہمارے تو ہم ان کو ابھی سے ساتھ لے کے چلیں گے. اس کے علاوہ پاسٹ پریزنٹ جو آپ کے ایس ایم سی کے ہیں، اسٹوڈنٹ کاؤنسل کے، اسپیشلی یاسین اور سب نے بہت سپورٹ کیا. تو یہ آپ سب کی وجہ سے ہی ممکن ہوا. تھینک یو ویری مچ. تھینک یو. آئی ایم obliged. تھینک یو. آج ہمارا سی ایم ای سیشن ہے اور پروگرام آپ کے سامنے نظر آ رہا ہے. تو لیٹس اسٹارٹ ود پروفیسر اقبال آفریدی، ون آف مائی فیوریٹ اسپیکر. آپ کو اندازہ ہو جائے گا میں کیوں فیوریٹ کہہ رہی ہوں. میری ہمیشہ جب بھی میں کوئی سیشن ارینج کر رہی ہوتی تو میری خواہش ہوتی سر کو کہیں ایکوموڈیٹ کروں، بیکاز آف دا فیکٹ دیٹ بہت اچھے سے بولتے ہیں اور دلوں میں جگہ پا لیتے ہیں. تھینک یو ویری مچ سر. Meritorious Professor Dr. Muhammad Iqbal Afridi, he is a Dean of JSMU and Dean of JPMC, brilliant list, Adjunct Professor, Baylor College of Medicine. Sir, سارا میں زیادہ تعریفیں نہ کروں. Thank you very much, sir.
پہلے تو میڈم کے لیے تالیاں ہونے چاہیے. اس کو آرگنائز کرنا کتنا مشکل ہے. آئی ایم ویری گریٹفل. بسم اللہ الرحمن الرحیم. والعصر ان الانسان لفی خسر الا الذین آمنوا وعملوا الصالحات وتواصوا بالحق وتواصوا بالصبر. صدق اللہ العظیم. First of all, I am very thankful to all of you, especially our worthy delegates from various countries, especially USA and UK and other countries. So I am glad that I was given this task کہ آپ اس پہ بات کریں کہ how to manage success اینڈ فیلور. کیونکہ ہم بچوں کو یہ تو سکھا دیتے ہیں کہ یہ کس طرح سیلیبریٹ کرتے ہیں، بٹ یہ نہیں سکھاتے جب فیل ہو جاتے ہیں تو وہ فیلور ایکچولی باد مخالف ہے جو اس کو اوپر لے جاتی ہے. تو I'll be talking about success. No, success and failure are considered two sides of a single coin. اور زندگی میں اتار چڑھاؤ ہوتی ہے. میرے پاس پیشنٹ کبھی کبھار آتے ہیں کہ دیکھو ڈاکٹر صاحب میرا ہاتھ ہل رہا ہے، تو میں کہتا ہوں کہ زندگی کی یہ علامت ہے کہ ہلے گا، مرنے کے بعد نہیں ہلے گا. جب درخت کی ٹہنی اوپر نیچے ہوتی ہے، سمندر کی لہر اوپر نیچے ہوتی ہے، تو یہ زندگی علامت ہے. درخت کی ٹہنی سوکھ گئی پھر نہیں ہلے گی. تو لہٰذا ہم سب جو ہے دیکھ ہم فیلور سے بھی گزرے ہیں. اچھا میں کوشش کروں گا کہ اس کو تھوڑا انٹریکٹیو بناؤں کہ کس طرح سے لوگ جو ہے سکسیس کو کیا سمجھتے ہیں اور اس کے ساتھ ساتھ فیلور کو کیا سمجھتے ہیں. ایک تو دنیاوی زندگی میں، آخرت کی زندگی سے بھی یعنی اسپریچولی بھی دیکھنا چاہیے. تو بیسیکلی ہم سب کو جو ہے سکسیس بھی ہوا ہے، فیلور بھی ہوا ہے. اور اگر ہم دیکھیں کہ سکسیس ریفر ٹو دی اچیومنٹ آف پلانڈ گولز، اگر جو آپ نے پلان گول کیا ہوا ہے اس تک پہنچتے ہیں تو آپ کو خوشی ہوتی ہے، سکسیس ہوتی ہے، کامیابی ہوتی ہے. بیسیکلی ریچنگ ٹو یور گول اینڈ پرپز اینڈ انٹینڈیڈ آؤٹ کم، کہ آپ کو یہ ذہن میں تھا کہ یہ مجھے ملے تو آپ سمجھتے ہیں میں سکسیسفل ہوا. لیکن اٹ ڈپینڈ اپون کہ آپ کس لیول پہ ہیں. مثال کے طور پر میں سوچ رہا تھا کہ جو فیلور ریفر ٹو نان اچیومنٹ آف دا گول. فیلور کیا ہے کہ آپ گول ڈائریکٹڈ ایکٹیویٹی کی طرف جا رہے تھے اور نہیں پہنچ پائے، آپ محسوس کرتے ہیں کہ میں فیل ہو گیا. اچھا یہ فیل اور پاس والا چکر جو ہے ہمیں جو ہے امتحانات تک میں دور رکھتے ہیں، حالانکہ اس سے بھی آگے ہے. تو ہاؤ ٹو ڈیفائن سکسیس ان لائف، کس طریقے کے. اب سکسیس سے مراد بہت یہ ہیوج ٹرم ہے، اس کے کچھ آبجیکٹو ہونے چاہیے. گول ہے پورا کہ زندگی کا مقصد کیا ہے. زندگی کا مقصد کیا ہے؟ صرف یہی نہیں، دنیا اور آخرت دونوں کی کامیابی ہوگی تو جو ہوگی. تو اگر یہ دیکھا جائے کہ بیسیکلی اٹس آئس برگ. سکسیس وہ جو ہمیں نظر آتا ہے کہ یہ جو ہے آئس برگ، باقی اندرونی اندر کیا ہو رہا ہے آپ کو لگ رہا ہے کہ یہ شادی سکسیسفل ہے لیکن اندر کیا پکا ہے لاوا, وہ جو ہے اگر دیکھا جائے کہ وہ آئس برگ کے نیچے ہے. تو اب ڈیزائر اینڈ سکسیس کے اندر ہمارے ڈیزائر ہیں کہ واٹ آر آر ڈیزائر. ایک تو یہ کہ میں امیر بنوں, رچ بنوں, پاور آ جائے مجھ پہ, گروتھ ہو. اور اگر میڈیکل اسٹوڈنٹس پہ دیکھا جائے تو وہ امتحانات کے مارکس کو they consider as a criteria of success. Actually, Singapore now the education system has been changed. They say the students should know how to remain happy instead of high marks. And high marks is not a criteria of success. یہ ذہن میں رکھیں. اور IQ اتنا important تو ہے لیکن EQ is more important than IQ. تو اس لحاظ سے ہمیں دیکھنا پڑے گا. سو ایگزامپل آف سکسیس کیا ہے آپ لوگوں کی نظر میں؟ سکسیس کی کیا ایگزامپل ہو سکتی ہیں؟ اینی سیٹسفیکشن ایک ویری گڈ, یہ تو بہت اچھا طریقے سے ہوا. لیکن عام طور پر اسٹوڈنٹ کیا کرتے ہیں, اس کے اتنے نمبر آئے, میرے اتنے نمبر آئے, کمپیئر کرتے ہیں. اور ایسی کامیابی, کوئی ایسی خوشی, ایسی کامیابی بیکار ہے جس میں دین بھی آپ کا ڈسٹرب ہو اور آپ کی دوستی بھی خراب ہو. تو بعض اوقات یہ ہے کہ آپ نے جیت تو گئے, ایسی جیت بیکار ہے جس میں دوسرے کو تکلیف ہو. تو اس لیے ہم کہتے ہیں کہ رشک تو ٹھیک ہے لیکن حسد ٹھیک نہیں ہے. رشک کیا ہے کہ آپ دیکھیں کہ اس کی اتنی اچیومنٹ ہے, میں بھی ایسا کروں. اور حسد کیا ہے کہ اس کی کیوں اتنے نمبر آئے, اس کی 3 منزلہ مکان کیوں ہے, کم کر دوں اس کو. تو ایگزامپل آف سکسیس آر جو ایک تو یہ کہ ہائی مارکس لے لیے, ڈگری لے لی, اور اسی طرح ارننگ, سیلری. دیز آر دی ویریس ایگزامپل آف سکسیس. اگر آپ اس میں دیکھیں کہ جو اسٹوڈنٹس ہوتے ہیں ان کو اپنے امتحانات کے they always consider the academic component of the success. یہ نہیں دیکھتے ہیں کہ اپنی ذاتی زندگی کو وہ پیورلی اس کے اندر ایکیڈیمک پہ وہ نہیں کہ ذاتی زندگی کو زیرو سے ضرب دے دیتے ہیں. یہ نہیں ہونا چاہیے. اپنی پرسنل لائف خاص طور پر میں آگے اس میں بتاؤں گا کہ ہماری پرائرٹی سب سے پہلے ہے ایمان, پھر صحت ہے, پھر عزت ہے, پھر ڈگریاں, پھر یہ عہدے, جائیدادیں. اور یہ نہیں ہے کہ خاص طور پر ڈاکٹر جو ہے انکلوڈنگ می کہ سارا دن لگے رہتے ہیں اور ایٹ دی کاسٹ آف آور ہیلتھ. پھر بیمار ہونے کے بعد ہیلتھ کو ریسٹور کرنے کی کوشش کرتے ہیں, ریسٹور نہیں ہوتا, سارا اس پہ لگاتے ہیں. تو لہٰذا شروع سے ہی ہم سب کو چاہیے کہ ایک بیلنس میں رہیں کہ جو امتحانات ہیں زندگی کے وہ تو ہوں. اب ہم میرے پاس کبھی کبھی پیشنٹ آتے تھے میڈیکل اسٹوڈنٹس کو, میرا یہ سوال ٹھیک نہیں ہوا, تو میں اس سے کہتا تھا آپ کی زندگی کے اتنے سارے امتحانات میں سے ایک آبجیکٹو ہے کہ ڈاکٹر بنوں. اس ڈاکٹر میں سے 5 سال امتحانات ہیں, 5 سال میں سے آپ 4th ایئر میں فیل ہو گئی ہیں, اس کے پھر جو ہے کمپوننٹ ہیں, اتنے پیپرز ہیں, اس پیپر کے پھر اس میں سے ایک سوال میں آپ کی سوئی اٹکی ہوئی ہے, سوال ٹھیک نہیں ہے. تو آپ کو اچھی بیٹی بننا ہے, اچھی ماں بننا ہے, اچھا انسان بننا ہے, اچھا شہری بننا ہے, اس کے اتنے سے امتحانات میں سے ایک جگہ سوئی اٹکی ہوئی ہے. تو لہٰذا یہ دس از کوگنیشن, اس کو فہم کہتے ہیں کہ فہم کو آپ وہ کر دو. دوسری مثال جو اکثر میں دیتا ہوں آ جاتی ہے کہ میں اس کے بغیر رہ نہیں سکتی, تو میں بڑا اداس, سوسائڈل. تو اسے کہتے ہیں آپ کی ملاقات کب ہوئی؟ 3 سال پہلے. اس سے پہلے کیسے رہتی تھی؟ ٹھیک ٹھاک رہتی تھی. تو کیا بھی پلیسنٹ آپ کا اٹیچ ہے جو آپ نہیں رہ سکتے؟ تو اینی ہاؤ, تو میں یہ بتا رہا تھا کہ اس کو سکسیس کو اگر ہم دیکھیں کہ ایمان پہلے نمبر پہ ہے, پھر صحت ہے, پھر عزت ہے, پھر ہیپینس ہے, خوشی, اور پھر کریڈینشل. جو ہم سارا کچھ جو ہے میڈیکل اسٹوڈنٹس کے ہوتے ہوئے اس کو بہت اہمیت دیتے ہیں ایٹ دی کاسٹ آف آل دس. اور پھر جو ہے ویلتھ. تو ایگزامپل آف فیلورس کیا ہے؟ ایگزامپل ہم تو یہ کہتے ہیں کہ اس کے اسٹیج میں کم نمبر آئے, اس کے یہ نمبر آئے, لیکن وہ ایک کمپوننٹ ہے. اگر آپ دیکھیں کہ ٹیسٹ کی گریڈز آر ناٹ, میں اپنی کلاس میں درمیانہ پڑھتا تھا, الحمدللہ 22 گریڈ میں چلا گیا اور ڈسٹنگوش نیشنل پروفیسر بنا. جو زیادہ پڑھتے تھے وہ ایک تو ہمارے کلاس فیلو جو ہے نا, جب بجلی چلے تھے روشنی میں پڑھنے لگتے تھے, ابھی تک ایف نہیں کر سکے. تو بات یہ کہ ضرورت سے زیادہ پڑھنا ٹھیک نہیں ہے, زیادہ عقل بھی ٹھیک نہیں ہے, زیادہ عبادت بھی ٹھیک نہیں ہے. رہبانیت کہتے ہیں اس کو. آپ ضرورت سے زیادہ اللہ اللہ کرتے رہیں. دنیا میں کئی لوگوں نے جو ہے ترک دنیا کی ہے, اس کو ہم کہتے ہیں. ایک کا نام تھا چندر گپت بکر ماجید. اس نے کہا کہ تو بڑا ظلم ہے کہ گندم کا ہوشہ اپنی نسل بڑھانے کے لیے کر دیتے ہیں, ہم کھا لیتے ہیں. شہد کی مکھی اپنے لیے جمع کرتی ہیں, ہم کھا لیتے ہیں. درخت جاندار کو ہم کاٹ کے فرنیچر بناتے ہیں, یہ تو ظلم ہے. میں ترک دنیا کر رہا ہوں, ناکام ہو گیا. تو لہٰذا ضرورت سے زیادہ عبادت بھی منع ہے, جس کو رہبانیت کہتے ہیں. تو ہر چیز میانہ روی. تو جو لوگ اگر دیوار میں سیمنٹ کی مقدار بڑھا دیں تو دیٹس ناٹ گڈ. تو لہٰذا ضرورت سے زیادہ نمبر جو ہماری کلاس میں لیتے تھے پیچھے رہ گئے. تو درمیانہ پڑھنا چاہیے. تو these are the example of failures. اور اس کے علاوہ اس میں کوئی ایڈ کرنا چاہے کہ میں سوچ رہا تھا کہ اس کو انٹریکٹیو بنائیں تھوڑا, کیونکہ لرننگ شوڈ بی تھرو فن رادر دین فیئر. اٹ شوڈ بی انجوائبل ایکٹیویٹی, کہ میں سیکھ رہا ہوں, یہ نہیں ہے کہ اس کو عذاب سمجھیں. اور جو ہے پڑھانا بھی اور پڑھنا دونوں شوڈ بی کنسیڈرڈ ایز اے بلیسنگ. تو سکسیس از دی سم آف اسمال ایفرٹس ریپیٹڈ ڈے ان ڈے آؤٹ. ایک تو یہ. دوسرا, ہاؤ فیلور لیڈ ٹو سکسیس. اصل چیز یہ کہ ہاؤ ڈو یو کیش فیلور ان سکسیس. یعنی اگر آپ دیکھیں کہ یہ کورونا کی جو کیفیت تھی, اس نے دنیا کو ہلا دیا. I have written an editorial on that کہ what are the good opportunity, what are the good side of the کورونا. اب دیکھیں دنیا میں پتہ چل گیا کہ ایک جگہ وہاں سے ایک مصیبت چھوٹی سی گئی, پوری دنیا کو پھیلا دیا. اس کا سبق ہمیں کئی ملے. ایک تو یہ ہے کہ ایک ملک کی خوشحالی تحفظ دوسرے سے وابستہ ہے. تو لہٰذا گلوبلی سوچنا چاہیے کہ یہ افریقہ کے لوگ جو ہے وہاں کے جو HIV یا اس طرح سے یہ پھیل سکتے ہیں. تو لہٰذا ہوتا یہی ہے کہ اس کو سوچ کو ٹھیک کرنا پڑے گا. اور پھر یہ کہ ہتھیاروں پہ اسٹار وار پروگرام بموں پہ خرچے کرتے ہیں, اگر وہ خرچے کیے جاتے ہیں ہیلتھ اور ایجوکیشن پہ تو شاید اس کو پریڈکٹ کر کے اس کو پریونٹ کیا جا سکتا تھا. تو لہٰذا یہ بھی ہم اس طرح سے. مجھے یاد ہے آئی واز پریزیڈنٹ آف پاکستان سائیکیٹرک سوسائٹی. ہم نے جب پہلی زوم میٹنگ کی تو ہمارے سارے سینئر جو ہے وہ آ نہیں رہے تھے. میں نے کہا آپ سب بوڑھے ہو چکے ہو, اپنے پوتے پوتیوں کو بلاؤ کہ آپ کو لنک کر دے, تھا ہم سب وہ کر دے. تو دی نیو جنریشن ہیز میکاٹرونک کیپیبلٹیز. تو لہٰذا ہمیں اس کا کورونا کے وہ بھی ایک فائدہ ہے کہ ہمیں اپرچونٹی ملی کہ ہم نے کس طرح سے پاکستان نے پنچ کیا اس کو, اور ہم نے اپنے اس پہ ایڈیٹور میں یہ لکھا بھی ہے. تو اب جو the thing is how do you make your failure a success, کہ آپ اندازہ لگائیں, حساب لگائیں کہ کیا غلطی ہوئی ہے, کیا نہیں ہوئی ہے, اور میں کس طرح سے اس کو کیش کر کے. اور دنیا میں بہت سارے لوگ, اگر محمود غزنوی پہلے حملے پہ کامیاب ہوتا تو اتنا مشہور ہی نہیں ہوتا. تو یہ ذہن میں ہونا چاہیے کہ کانسٹنٹ ہاؤ یو کین میک یور فیلور سکسیسفل. میں خود جو ہے مجھے FCPS میں 1 نمبر سے فیل کیا, اور میں کہتا ہوں دیٹ واز اے بلیسنگ فار می کہ میں نے آکسفورڈ کی کتاب پڑھی اور اس میں 21 غلطیاں نکالی, ان کو لکھا لیٹر اور مائیکل گیلڈر کو, تو مان گئے کہ بالکل 21 غلطیاں. اور وہ اگر نہیں ہوتا تو میں نہ پڑھتا دوبارہ. تو اس طرح سے یو کین کیچ دیٹ. اچھا اب یہ ہے کہ ہاؤ ٹو, سب سے پہلے آپ تھنک دین آئیڈیا ٹرائی ڈو اٹ اگین, دیٹ ول لیڈ ٹو سکسیس. اور ریپیٹڈلی آپ کریں. اور دنیا میں کئی جو ہے پلان شدہ بہترین جو ہے ریسرچز, یہاں سرفراز صاحب بیٹھے ہیں NIH میں, بہت سارے ریسرچ. میں تو لینڈبرگ انسٹیٹیوٹ ڈنمارک میں دیکھا بہت بڑے بڑے پروجیکٹ کیسے ناکام ہوتے ہیں. اسی طرح سے جو ہے جو سائنٹسٹ بڑے بڑے پروجیکٹ کرتے ہیں ناکام ہوتے ہیں. اور پتہ چلتا ہے کہ جیسے مثال کے طور پر کئی دوائیاں جو بلڈ پریشر کے لیے تھی, پتہ چلا وہ ڈیمینشیا میں کام آتی ہے. کوئی دوائی کس کے لیے تھی کہیں اور چلی گئی. تو لہٰذا یہ دیکھنا چاہیے کہ فیلور کین. اچھا ہاؤ ٹو مینیج سکسیس. سب سے پہلی بات تو یہ میں مثال دینا چاہتا ہوں کہ کسی کی سالگرہ ہوتی ہے, ہم ویسے سکسیس کو مناتے کیسے ہیں. ایک جو سب سے مجھے بہت تکلیف ہوتی ہے جو فائرنگ کر کے میں دیکھا ہے. آئی ہیو ورک ان لیڈنگ ہاسپٹل پشاور, کہ کس طرح سے لوگ شادیوں پہ بچے کی پیدائش پہ فائرنگ کرتے ہیں. اور میں سرجیکل وارڈ میں تھا, ایک بچی کو بلٹ لگی اور ہم ڈھونڈ رہے تھے کہ کہاں ہے. اور میرے رجسٹرار نے مجھے کہا کہ ہیو یو ڈن ہر PR. میں نے کہا نہیں, ہاں کیا ہے, کیونکہ ینگ لڑکی تھی. اور ساری رات ہم ڈھونڈتے رہے اور پتہ چلا کہ یہ ریکٹم کے پاس اس کی بلٹ پڑی ہوئی ہے. تو بیلین لا میں ایک لکھا ہوا ہے کہ if you are not inserting your finger in the anus of the patient it means you are inserting foot. تو اس رات مجھے خیال آیا کہ کتنا زبردست جملہ بیلین لا میں لکھا ہوا ہے. تو اس لحاظ سے how we سکسیس کو مناتے کیسے مناتے؟ ساری توجہ، اگر بچے کی سالگرہ بھی ہو رہی ہے ساری توجہ بچے پہ، دوسرے بچے سوچتے ہیں میں کہاں ہوں. تو ایسی یہ ذہن میں رکھیں کہ آپ اگر سکسیس کر رہے ہیں تو یہ دیکھیں کہ دوسروں پہ کیا گزرتی. وہ مومن نہیں جس کے ہاتھ اور زبان سے دوسرے کو تکلیف ہو. تو اس لحاظ سے اور ایسی کوئی جیت نہیں ہے جس میں دوستی یا دین خراب ہو جائے. تو آپ نے جیت لیا لیکن اس کو اتنا نہ منائیں کہ وہ دوسرے کو تکلیف ہو. آپ اگر کھانا بھی بنا رہے ہیں، شادی بھی کر رہے ہیں، یہ نہیں ہو کہ وہ اس قدر کر رہے ہوں کہ دوسرے کو اسے تکلیف ہو. تو لہٰذا یہ ضروری ہے کہ لرن ٹو ریسیو اینڈ ایکسیپٹ کمپلیمنٹ. جو آپ کو دے رہے ہیں کمپلیمنٹس وہ سیکھیں. اور اس طرح سے یہ ہے یوز دی لرننگ فرام اچیومنٹس کہ یہ میں نے اچیو کیا، اس میں کیا چیز تھی جو اچھی تھی. اور بدقسمتی سے ہماری جو سسٹم آف ایجوکیشن ہے کہ آپ کو میٹرک تک پیپر واپس ہی نہیں کرتے. آپ سمجھ نہیں آتا، شیپنگ نہیں ہوتی کہ میں نے کون سا سوال کیسے کیا، تو شیپنگ نہیں ہوتی. تو لہٰذا ہمیں چاہیے کہ یہ دیتے رہیں اور وہ اس کی شیپنگ ہو کہ یہ سوال میں نے ایسے کیا اور اس سے یہ فائدہ ہوا. تو اس طرح سے سکسیس کو بھی آپ جب دیکھیں کہ میں نے یہ چیز یوں اچیو کی، اب اگلی اس کو کیسے میں کیش کر کے مزید اگلا وہ کیسے کر سکتا ہوں. اینڈ یوز پازیٹیو افرمیشن، اپنے آپ کو کہ ہاں شکر الحمدللہ اب کہہ کے اور پھر آگے بڑھنا ہے کہ ہاں اس کو جو ہے اب ہم کیسے اچیو کریں. اچھا، پرسنل مینیجنگ فیلور، لرن ٹو یوز پازیٹیو سیلف ٹاک. اچھا جب فیل ہوتے ہیں ہم تو بچے ہم کو سکھاتے نہیں، ہر طرف سے، ماں کی طرف سے، باپ کی طرف، دوستوں کی طرف، سب اس کو ایسا کرتے ہیں. آئی ہیو سین ان مائی کلاس کئی لوگوں نے سوسائڈ کیا. اور ایک کو تو عجیب تھی کہ وہ تھرڈ ایئر میں فیل ہو گیا، اتنا اچھا تھا لیکن اس نے سوسائڈ کیا. اور اس وقت اینیلورفین نہیں مل رہا تھا، ہم نے انگلینڈ سے منگوایا جب تک پیشنٹ ایکسپائر ہو گیا. اس نے ہیروئن لی تھی. تو therefore how to manage failure کو کیسے مینیج کیا جائے بتائیں ذرا جی. سب سے پہلے ایکسپٹ کریں اپنی غلطی، یہ سب سے پہلا اسٹیپ ہے. پھر آپ اس کو دیکھیں کہ کیوں غلطی ہوئی، یہ غلطی کیوں ہوئی، اور اس کو پھر اس پہ آپ کام کریں گے تو your horizon of mind will increase. اور برین اسٹارمنگ سے، دوستوں سے مشورے سے، لوگوں سے بات کر کے، یہ نہیں کہ چھپتے پھر رہے ہیں، وربلائز کریں. جو فرائڈ کا کہنا تھا کہ دماغ کی جو حبس ہے اس کو ہم جو منہ سے وربلائز کر کے کرتے ہیں. اس کمرے میں، اس روم میں اگر حبس ہو تو ہم کھڑکی دروازہ کھولتے ہیں. دماغ کی کھڑکی منہ ہے. آپ اسے بار بار 10 بار کسی کو لطیفہ سنائیں، اثر ختم. آپ نے 10 بار کسی کو گانا سنایا، اس کا اثر ختم. تو لہٰذا وربلائزیشن، اس کا اظہار کرنا، اور جیسے کہ میں نے بتایا کہ پہلے تو ایکسیپٹ کریں، پھر دیکھیں، مشورہ کریں اور اس کی نشاندہی کریں کہ غلطی کہاں ہوئی ہے کہ میں اس کو ریپیٹ نہیں کروں. اپنی غلطیوں سے سیکھنے سے ہی بندہ آگے بڑھتا ہے. اچھا، ٹپس فار ٹرننگ فیلور انٹو سکسیس. کس طرح سے ہم فیلور کو سکسیس میں وہ کر سکتے ہیں. اپروچ فیلور وتھ رائٹ مائنڈ سیٹ. سب سے پہلے کہ یہ ہے کہ زندگی میں ان اللہ مع صابرین. کئی بار میں والد صاحب کے کہنے پہ آرمی میں جا رہا تھا میڈیکل میں، اور مجھے بلا وجہ فیل کیا. 15 سیٹیں تھی، 6000 اپلیکینٹ تھے، ظاہر کرنا تھا. ایک بھی سوال میڈیکل نہیں پوچھا. میں حیران کہ کیا. اور میں کہتا ہوں شکر ہے کہ مجھے موقع ملا. 70 کنٹریز میں نے دیکھی، ورنہ میں کب دیکھتا. تو یہ ہے کہ بعض اوقات ہم سوچتے ہیں کہ یہ جو ہے آپ فیل ہو گئے. حضرت خدیجۃ الکبریٰ اگر وہ بیوہ نہیں ہوتی، تجارت نہ کرتی، تو حضور صلی اللہ علیہ وسلم میں واسطہ کیسے پڑتا. تو اس لحاظ سے ہمیں سوچنا چاہیے کہ آپ اس کو اپروچ کو چینج کریں اینڈ اون دا فیلور. جیسے کہ انہوں نے بتایا کہ اون دا فیلور، کہ ہاں یہ میری غلطی تھی. جب تک ہم ایکسیپٹ نہیں کریں گے، اکثر یہ ہوتا ہے کہ یہ ٹیچر کی غلطی تھی، یہ کالج کی غلطی تھی، یہ ملک کی غلطی تھی. اپنی غلطی نہیں مانیں گے. اس کو جو ہے جب تک آپ وہ نہیں کریں گے اینڈ اسٹے کلیئر اباؤٹ دیٹ کہ اب ہم کرنا کیا ہے، اس فیلور کو میں نے کیش کیسے کرنا ہے. اینڈ کیپ آن ٹرائنگ. یہ سائنٹسٹ جو ہے بار بار ٹرائی کرتے ہیں تب وہ کسی سکسیس پہ پہنچتے ہیں. ہاؤ ٹو, اچھا اس میں اپنی سیلف اسٹیم جو ہے وہ بڑی اہمیت کے حامل ہے, اور اس کے لیے سب سے پہلے always remember that no one is perfect. اللہ کی ذات کے علاوہ کوئی پرفیکٹ نہیں ہے. نبیوں کی زبان میں لکنت تھی, جسم میں کیڑے تھے, اور حضرت خادم علیہ السلام کو کہا گیا کہ سارے جنت آپ کا, ادھر نہیں جانا, ادھر ہی گیا. تو اس کا مطلب انسان غلطی کا پتلا نہیں بلکہ پتیلا ہے. اتنی ساری غلطیاں ہم کرتے ہیں اور اسی سے سیکھتے ہیں. تو اس میں ضروری ہے کہ فرسٹ آف آل آپ یہ سوچیں کہ پرفیکٹ بننے کی کوشش نہیں کریں. آپ نے 70% کام کیا تو دیٹ از گریٹ ہے. تو لہٰذا یہ جو 100% بننے کی کوشش کرتے ہیں, جو میرے کلاس فیل ہو یا پھر وہ بجلی چلی جاتی ہے, وہ گیزر پہ پڑھتے تھے, بڑا لوگ تنگ ہوتے تھے اسے. اینڈ دیز آر دی مینیج وتھ سکسیس. اینڈ اس طریقے سے یہ ساری چیزیں نظر آ گئی ہیں آپ لوگوں میں. ذرا ٹائم نہیں لینا چاہتا, لیکن دیر آر, یہ بھی ذہن میں رکھیں کہ ہر انسان کو اللہ تعالیٰ نے کسی کو طاقت گفتار دی ہے, کسی کو حسن اخلاق دیا ہے, تو کسی کو میتھس میں ٹھیک ہے, تو اس طرح سے there are 9 types of intelligence ہیں. 9 types of intelligence. Some may be scholastic intelligence. میری kinesthetic intelligence ٹھیک نہیں ہے, ڈانسنگ نہیں آتی, لیکن نشان باز میں ٹھیک ہوں. تو لہٰذا یہ جو ہے سب اسکولسٹ. آئی کین اسپیک 6 لینگویج. ایک عالم سے ملا 85 لینگویج آتی تھی اسے. تو دیٹ مین جو اسکولسٹک انٹیلیجنس والے لوگ ہیں ان کی وہ بڑی اچھی ہوگی. کوئی ارتھمیٹک میں انٹیلیجنس ہوگی, ساری چیز. اور اس کو ہم نے اس طرح سے بنایا ہے کہ وربل اور لنگوسٹک ورڈ سمارٹ ہے. دوسرا لاجیکل میتھمیٹیکل نمبر سمارٹ, جو میتھمیٹک ویژول اسپیشل, یہ سمارٹ ہے. باڈی کائنیستھیٹک, دیز آر دی ویریس کمپوننٹ. تو لہٰذا سب انسانوں میں نہیں ہوتے, ہر شخص میں کچھ نہ کچھ خامی ہوتی ہے. دی پرسنالٹی, یور پرسنالٹی will determine how you can manage success as well as your failure. اور اس کو اگر پازیٹیو انداز میں آپ لیں تو اس سے بڑا فائدہ ہوتا ہے. سائیکو انالیٹیکل اپروچ اگر دیکھیں, یہاں پر بہت سارے سینئر ہمارے بیٹھے ہیں, میرا خیال ہے اس کو میں وہ کر دیتا ہوں. ہمارے دماغ میں, اچھا یہ بھی بتاتا چلوں کہ فرائڈ نے 19 سینچریز کے شروعات میں کہا کہ پرسنالٹی ایڈ, ایگو اور سپر ایگو, جبکہ اسلام میں پہلے سے تھے. نفس امارہ, نفس نوامہ, نفس مطمئنہ, یہ پہلے سے تھے, لیکن اس کو اتنا اجاگر نہیں کیا گیا. جو بھی چیز ہے یہ دس ایکٹ آن پلیجر پرنسپل, میری ہو, میری خوشی ہو, تو یہ سکسیس ہے نا, کہ سب کچھ میرا ہو. ایسی کوئی خوشی نہیں جس میں لوگوں کو فائدہ نہ ہو. تو لہٰذا ہولسٹیکلی سوچیں. اور جو ماسلو کا کیا وہ ہے ماڈل ہے کہ آپ گیونگ اسٹیج پہ آپ دوسروں کو فلاحی نیت سے کریں تو آپ کو زیادہ مزہ آئے گا. تو اس طریقے سے جو ہے یہ ایڈ, ایگو اور سپر ایگو, یہ کانسیپٹ ذرا میں آپ کو نہیں کرنا چاہتا, لیکن ایکسپریسنگ فرسٹریشن ان ہیلدی وے, یہ بھی ایک اپروچ ہے کہ آپ جب سکسیس ہو تو دیز آر دی ویریس ways of expressing frustration. اینڈ سب سے اہم, چونکہ میڈیکل اسٹوڈنٹ یہاں بہت ہے, میک یور اسٹڈی مائنڈفل. ہر چیز کو خشوع وضو کے ساتھ کرنا ہے, اٹینشن, انٹینشن اینڈ ایٹیٹیوڈ کے ساتھ. اور جب آپ اسٹڈی کو اس اندازے کریں کہ میں لرن کر رہا ہوں, یہ عبادت ہے, پڑھانا بھی عبادت ہے, تو اس سے پھر آپ تنگ بھی نہیں ہوں گے اور ساتھ ساتھ آپ انجوائے بھی کریں گے. اور ہر چیز کو آپ نے مائنڈ, اگر ہاتھ بھی دھونے گے, کورونا کے موقع پہ ہم نے بنایا کہ آپ جب ہاتھ دھو تو نیت کریں کہ صفائی نصف ایمان ہے, اور اسراف کے تقاضوں کو مد نظر رکھتے ہوئے میں پانی بہاؤں گا. اور اس طرح سے جب نل کھلا نہ چھوڑیں بیچ میں, اس کو بند کرنا ہے. ورنہ اگر پاکستان میں 22 کروڑ عوام 40 سیکنڈ تک ہاتھ دھوئیں تو پانی کی نکاسی سسٹم ہی تباہ برباد ہو جائے. تو ہم نے اردو میں بنائے ہیں اس کے. ناؤ دی 5 ٹپس. سب سے اہم بات یہ ہے کہ جب آپ فیل ہوتے ہیں یا کسی امتحان میں فیل ہوتے ہیں تو کیا کرتے ہیں, اسٹریس میں جب ہوتے ہیں, نہ کھانے کا خیال, نہ پینے کا خیال, نہ سونے کا خیال, نہ ایکسرسائز, کچھ بھی نہیں کرتے. حالانکہ جب آپ اسٹریس میں ہوں بہترین کھانا منگوائیں, ایکسرسائز ضرور کریں, کیونکہ اس سے اینڈورفین, انکیفلین اور برین ڈیرائیوڈ نیوروٹرافک فیکٹر نکلتے ہیں جو کہ آپ کو یاداشت کو بھی ٹھیک کرتے ہیں, اور اس کے ساتھ ساتھ جو ہے وہ آپ کی ڈپریشن کو بھی ٹھیک کرتے ہیں. تو آپ جب بھی اسٹریس میں ہوں, فیلور میں ہوں, ایکسرسائز کو, بہترین ڈائٹ کو, ٹریپٹوفین کنٹیننگ سبسٹنس کیلا لوبیا مرغی کلیجی پنیر لسی دودھ دہی اس میں وافر مقدار میں ہے وہ لینی چاہیے اور بہترین اپنے لیے اہتمام کریں جب آپ اسٹریس میں ہوں یا فیلور میں ہوں اور دوسرا اس کے ساتھ ڈائٹ کے ساتھ ساتھ سلیپ کا خیال اگلے دن امتحان ہے ساری رات سوئے نہیں ہے 10 سے اس پہ میں نے ایڈیٹور لکھا ہمارے اسی یہیں کی جنرل کے ایڈیٹور جو ہمارے اس کا ہے اس میں لکھا ہے کہ سلیپ ان انڈر ویلیو پریویلیج ان دا کنٹمپریری لائف اسٹائل کہ کس اللہ تعالیٰ کی بہترین نعمت ہے 10 سے لے کے 6 بجے تک 1 hour is equal to 2 hours اس سے ریوائٹیلٹی ہوتی ہے if you sleep after 12:30 you will never enjoy the quality of sleep which is essential for revitality تو لہٰذا یہ میری آپ سے درخواست ہے کہ فیل ہوں یا کچھ ہوں یا سٹریس میں ہوں اپنی غذا صحت اس کا جو ہے ڈائٹ کا نیند کا بڑا خیال رکھیں نے بتایا کہ انوائرمنٹل انفلوئنس کیا ہے نیوٹریشن ہیلتھ کوالٹی آف اسٹیمولیشن ایموشنل کلائمیٹ آف ہوم اینڈ ٹائپ آف فیڈ سب سے اہم بات ہے کہ فیڈ بیک جو آپ کو ملے اس کو آپ ضرور دیکھ کے لوگ آپ سے بات کریں اور ایسے لوگوں سے ملیں جو پازیٹیو انداز میں آپ کو فیڈ بیک دے دیں اور فیڈ بیک جو میں نے کہا کہ ہمارے یہاں میٹرک تو دیتے ہی نہیں ہے پیپر واپس تو اندازہ ہی نہیں ہوتا کہ کیا چیز میں نے کی اس کو سسٹم کو ہمیں ٹھیک کرنا پڑے گا اینڈ دس از دا لاسٹ ون فیو سلائڈ جب آپ اسٹریس میں ہوں تو جیکبسن کا میتھڈ ہے کہ آپ زور سے 100% زور لگا کے اور محسوس کریں کہ یہ میرا ٹینس ہے یہ ریلیکس ہے پھر دوسرے ہاتھ میں سب اس طرح سے آپ کر سکتے ہیں لیکن آپ اگر آفس میں بیٹھے یوں حرکتیں کر رہے ہوں خاص طور پر سائیکیٹرسٹ لوگ ہیں اس کو کیا ہو گیا تو لہٰذا اس کا دوسرا طریقہ یہ ہے کہ آپ ویژولائز کر کے آپ محسوس کریں کہ سب سے اچھی جگہ کون سی تھی جب میں گیا تھا اور اس میں کیا انرچ یور 5 سینسری موڈیلٹیز حواس خمسہ اس کو انرچ کریں کہ اسمیل کیسی تھی اور اس طرح سے جو ہے وہ نظر کیا آ رہا تھا آواز کیسی تھی with this I'll end my talk and بس یہ ذہن میں رکھیں کہ انسان کو چاہیے کہ ہمدرد ہو انسان کا جو ہمدرد نہیں انسان کا وہ انسان ہی کس کام کا تھینک یو ویری مچ
Thank you very much, sir. ہمیشہ کی طرح ایک اور اچھی presentation. My next speaker is Dr. Sarfraz Hasni. He's a director at National Institute of Health at Maryland, USA, recipient of William G. Coleman Award, chair of Scientific Review Committee, author of many papers, and he is even written a chapter in the book of Rheumatology, and with a citation of 5,347. Dr. Sarfraz Hasni.
Assalamu alaikum and good morning. So, of course, it's a great honor and privilege for me to be here back at my alma mater and being part of this 50-year celebration. So, first of all, thank you for the organizing committee, especially thanks to Dr. Rahat Naz. And a very special thank you to Dr. Irfan Suleiman, who is the driving force behind bringing a lot of our class fellows and arranging these. So when somebody brings you in and invites you with so much love and honor, you're overwhelmed with that. And I really want to show that gratitude. So I want to say something in Urdu. We'll dedicate a share for the organizing committee. So Mir Dard ne kaha hai کہ قاصد نہیں یہ کام تیرا اپنی راہ لے قاصد نہیں یہ کام تیرا اپنی راہ لے ان کا پیام دل کے سبا کون لا سکے. So again, thank you so much. So with that, I'll start talking about what are some of the issues in medical research publication. And what I will do is that I will go over some of the common issues that have been encountered and what are some of the risk mitigation strategies to overcome those problems. And also at the end, I will leave you with some resources and I will send my presentation to the committee so they can send it out to anyone who would like to have it for a reference, or you can, after the talk, reach out to me and I'll be happy to email that to you. So these are my disclaimers. I don't have any conflict of interest, and whatever I'm going to talk about are my personal views and do not reflect the institute that I work at. And these are the objectives I just talked about. So we'll first talk about some of the common ethical issues. We'll learn about plagiarism, which is one of the major reasons for the research ethical issues, and also at the end, some strategies and resources. So before we even talk about, I just want to provide a little bit of a preface of my talk. So this website, the Retraction Watch, has been launched about more than 20 years ago. And what they do is that they look at the papers which have been retracted after they've been published. And they start compiling data, and every few years after they publish this data, telling you that how many papers have been retracted and what are the various reasons. So let's look at a snapshot what they have recently published. So in this, you can see that the number of retracted papers have exponentially gone up over the last few years. And you can see that in about 2015, there are so many papers who've been retracted. And as you can see from the bottom brown or dark orange bar, that most of them are related to fraud. So then you will wonder, like, what kind of fraud is going on? So if you look at the breakdown, so these are the three major reasons why fraud happens. And the most common reason is plagiarism. So I don't know if there's a pointer. Okay. Anyway, so it's the pointer is not working, but anyway, so it is. Acha. It's all right, don't worry about it. So you can see that plagiarism is like one of the major reasons for retracting the papers and for the problems with ethics. So before even we talk about the issues, why is it even important? Why does it matter that all the publication has to follow certain ethical principles? So of course, it's more of a rhetorical question. Probably most of you already know this, but most important to me and for most of the audience here is that personal integrity. So you want to make sure that you hold yourself to the highest degree of integrity, and whatever you say is based on evidence, and whatever you say is true. So personal integrity and accountability is very important. Then safety of human subjects, and the safety of human subject is both retrospective and prospective. And what I mean by that is when you are when you're publishing something, you are using the data from human subjects, and that human subject data has to be built on following certain research ethical principles. So you have protected the human subject, and then when you're publishing that, it is based on sound ethical principle. But not only that, when you publish something, that data has been used to develop some guidelines people will use as evidence to do clinical work. So you want to make sure that what you are publishing is following the safety of human subjects. Then advancement of research. So when you publish something, people will build on your research, and they will go on and do different other researches based on the data that has been published. So advancement of research is important. Public trust in science. So this is extremely important because when we publish something, public reads that, and it goes into sometimes in the newspaper. So it has to follow the highest standards of integrity and ethics. So the public's trust in what we say as doctors, what we say as researchers, has to be maintained. Then retracted work sometimes go on being cited, even though the retracted work has been taken out of the public domain. But sometimes people will keep on citing it, so that's also not important. That's also important. And then waste of resources. So when you publish something which is unethical or which is using fabricated data or so forth, then it wastes resources. So what are some of the reasons why this research misconduct will happen? So most importantly, most of the time, people are not inherently bad. They want to try to follow the ethical principle. They want to do the right thing. But sometimes there is lack of knowledge. And I think sessions like these are very important. And I applaud the organizing committee for choosing this topic so that we can learn what are the various rules and regulations following publications, and we want to make sure that when we publish something, we follow those rules. Sometimes, as an early academicians, there's so much pressure to publish. So famously, what is being said is either you publish or you perish. So in that pressure, sometimes misconduct happens. Sometimes financial incentives are there. Sometimes large groups are involved, and I will give you some example of that. That people may not understand that what is their role and whether there are some ethical issues, but because there are so many people are involved in publication. So with that, I think I've prefaced a little bit, and now I'm going to talk about some of the specific examples of ethical issues and how to mitigate those examples. So the first one is data fabrication and falsification. And believe it or not, it's more common than you would imagine. So it does happen a lot of time. Like again, I said there's so much pressure to publish. People will try to make their figure just perfect or make their fudge the data a little bit so that it looks good and it get accepted. So give you a recent example. In COVID era, two papers were published, and they were published in one of the two best journals in the world. So published in Lancet and New England Journal of Medicine. And both these papers were published by this previously unknown company, and they put a huge data talking about hydroxychloroquine and also cardiovascular mortality in COVID. And when they published this data, people started questioning. And then they reached out to the company to provide the raw data to see where did they get data. They were not able to provide that information. And with these two papers, some of the very well-known names in the world were attached. Some of the professors from Harvard and other places were there. But the company was not able to provide the raw data. So what happened is that they ended being retracted by both New England Journal of Medicine and Lancet. And it was a big news. And some of you may remember a few years back, scientists from South Korea claimed that he has been able to clone human embryo from animal models, but later on it turns out that it was fabricated data. So it does happen. So obviously this is something we don't want to do. Now coming to the big picture, it's the biggest issue is plagiarism. And not always plagiarism is an issue where you're doing it knowingly. A lot of time plagiarism is done unknowingly. So it's very important to understand what is plagiarism and what is not plagiarism, and also to make sure that how do you make sure that you are not committing plagiarism when you're writing a paper. So what is plagiarism? It's using someone else's work, ideas, data, methods, images, or words without doing the proper acknowledgement. So if you are not acknowledging your source and you're presenting as your own, that will constitute as plagiarism in a big picture. What are various categories of plagiarism? So one is complete plagiarism, which you take out somebody's work, and then what you do is, okay, can I just take it? So complete plagiarism is when you are taking somebody's work and then you're submitting it as your own. What is source-based? So source-based plagiarism happens quite often. And what happens is that, for example, you're looking at a review article where they have quoted data from some primary source. But when you are citing the data, instead of citing the primary source, you're citing the secondary source. And that is considered as source-based plagiarism. What is verbatim plagiarism? For example, if you take out somebody's sentence, somebody's paragraph, and you put it in your paper without putting the quotation marks. And then self-plagiarism. And self-plagiarism is actually very common when you write multiple papers. You tend to repeat yourself. Sometimes the methods have been repeated without doing the proper acknowledgement. That will cause self-plagiarism. Then mosaic plagiarism is also when you, for example, take a sentence or a paragraph and then you interlay it with some of your words and then put it in your publication. So all of these forms, of course, have to be avoided. So what are some of the tips to avoid plagiarism? So the number one thing is that if you're using something per verbatim, you have to make sure that you put it in quotation marks so that people know that you're using somebody else's words. You can do that, but with the quotation marks. Most importantly, when you're writing the main idea or when you're summarizing the result, that must come from your own wordings. You cannot cite somebody else's work in your main ideas or your summary. When you are using a reference, you're paraphrasing somebody, make sure that you use your own words and change it in a way, but at the same time, make sure that you cite the source. And the source, again, has to be the primary source. Some of the common knowledge, universal facts, you don't have to cite. I mean, for example, heart has 4 chambers, or brain has 2 hemispheres, or so forth. I mean, these are known, so you don't need to cite that. I mean, it's you have to kind of use your judgment. But anytime there is a doubt, make sure that you do cite the source. So how do you check plagiarism? So now it's rather easy how you can check it. There are multiple software available, and you can run your published work against those softwares, and the software generates a report which tells you about what is the degree of text similarity. So there's some of those resources which are freely available, but they're not as good. Some of the resources are available by subscription. I'm not sure if the university offers those services or not. Usually the libraries at big academic institute have those softwares, and you can send it to them and they can run those reports. So I'll just list some of the resources here. For example, the Scriber is a completely free resource. The Quitex is also available for limited amount you can do, but the rest, if you have to use it more, then you have to give money. The Plague Scan is also a very reliable source, and the number one resource that everybody in the world uses and most reliable is Authenticate. So Authenticate is very expensive, and if the library here subscribe it, I think that will be a big resource for you. So what happens is that when they publish this report, they will tell you what is the percentage of text similarity. So they will look at your paper, and then they run it against whatever has been published in the past, and then they tell you that your paper has, for example, less than 15% similarity. So anything which is less than 15%, for example, 12% or so, it will be acceptable. Anything between 15 to 25% is somewhat of a gray zone. Any high impact good journal will not accept anything more than 15%. In fact, some would not even accept anything more than 12%. And anything above 25% text similarity will not be accepted. It will be rejected by the editors as plagiarism. So make sure that you run your paper against on these software, and make sure that you have a plagiarism report which tells you exactly how much of the text similarity is there. So it's, again, very important. So I'm a big proponent of checklists, and I see a lot of students sitting here. I will recommend all of you to read this book called Checklist Manifesto. I think some of you already know this, and that book really makes me organize my thoughts, organize the way I work, and it's a book by Atul Gawande, Checklist Manifesto, so I would recommend you do that. So I'm a big proponent of checklists. I always make checklists for the things that I have to do on that day or on that week in that month, and try to follow that and cross those off. So for plagiarism, I've created this checklist to try to use that. So first thing is that when you're using somebody else's work, do paraphrasing. Make sure that you cite it. Make sure you give references. Mention the source of information. Mention acknowledgements if somebody has, if you're using somebody else's work. Put quotation marks when you're copying exact text. Avoid self-plagiarism. Whenever you're using somebody else's illustration or tables, make sure that you get permission. And a word of caution is that when something is published, that published word, the copyright is with the journal. It's not with the author. So you have to ask the permission of the journal. And then lastly, most important thing is to make sure that you run the plagiarism report. Alrighty. So now let's quickly go through some of the other things. So the duplication work or simultaneous work. So let's talk about this doctor. He's Dr. Gen Z. He's associate professor at this unique medical university, and he's up for promotion, and he's trying to increase the number of publication to meet the requirement for his promotion. So I think some of us, especially the junior faculty or early phase career, can relate to this, that there's so much pressure to publish so that you can get progress in academic field. So here he's thinking that it takes so long to hear from journals. So he's thinking that maybe submit papers to 2 journals at once, and it will save time, and one of them is bound to accept. So this is what he's thinking. So anyone see any problem with that? Yes, you cannot do that. So what is simultaneous submission? So it is submitting the same manuscript to 2 or more journals at the same time. Of course, it's a copyright violation. It's not something that you should do. It also wastes resources and also slows down the publication process. And there's a lot of detail which I'm skipping through in the interest of time, but I'll be happy to discuss later on. Something which is similar but not the same to simultaneous is duplicate publication. And duplicate publication happens when you try to publish the same paper again, which don't make a whole lot of changes. You just make a little bit of changes in the result or the title and try to pass it on as a new paper. Again, it's copyright issues, self-plagiarism, and it also distorts the evidence. So those are the things that we are not supposed to do. But there are certain times that you can you could do republication. So what are some of those instances? So those instances is like when something is published as an abstract, you can do a full paper based on that abstract. So that will not be considered duplicate or simultaneous. Professional society guidelines, because they want to make sure that their guidelines are disseminated. It can be published in multiple journals at the same time. Public health policies, for example, if the CDC comes up with some public health policy, they make sure that it's published in multiple papers so that it's widely disseminated. And then, of course, if there's substantial reanalysis of your work, then you can still publish as a republication. Translation of the original paper, but make sure that whenever you're doing republication, you must get the permission. And even though if it's your own work, the copyright is with the journal. It's not, you don't have that copyright anymore once it's published, even though it's your own work. And of course, you have to acknowledge the previously. All right, so let's talk about the next issue. So the next issue is the so-called the salami slicing, or when you try to publish multiple papers out of one single study. So then coming back to the same doctor, Gen Z, and what is he thinking now? That he needs to publish more papers. So he's thinking that maybe I should divide my results and try to make multiple publications of my study. So any problems with that? Yes, no, no. So it's not always wrong, but you have to see where you're drawing the line. So if you're publishing like 8 study out of one paper, that may not be right. But but the studies have to have to be substantially different in terms of what results you are trying to publish. So what exactly is salami slicing? Is that a single study you trying to break it down into the least publishable unit. So that is something that you should not do, because then what happens is that even though it increases the publication count, it gets you more recognition. It probably will cause a more faster career progression. You can receive more funding. But then there are some unethical, but some of these things are unethical. And why it's unethical? Because it's harmful to science. And people may look at these as independent studies, and they say that these are independent cohorts. So that is something that will generate the data which is not right. It increases the quantity instead of quality. So we always say that you have to focus on quality. The quality has to be best, and it has to be a comprehensive study instead of trying to break it down. It can amount to self-plagiarism. It wastes the peer review time, and it's unethical means for achieving career progression. Okay, so let's go to the next topic, which is very contented, which is the authorship issues. So authorship disputes. So let's talk about this student. So the student is a final year student. Her name is Miss Hardworking. She's working very hard, and she has working under this professor, Dr. Asproff. The study was published in a high impact, is sent for publication in high impact. However, when she looks at the author, she sees that her name is not there. And not only her name is not there, she said the head of the department's name is there, who was not involved in. So I think some of you who have published that may resonate with them. It may sound familiar that things like that may happen, and some of the students are sitting. It might have happened to one of them. So let's see whether, do you think there is an issue here or not an issue there? Issue. It's an issue. Okay. But that's actually, it's not as clear. So the second part, putting the head of department's name is obviously unethical. But putting her name as an author or just as an acknowledgement, it is not as black and white. There is a little bit of a gray zone here. So why there is a gray zone? So let's look at the authorship criteria. So the authorship criteria, which every journal follows, is created by the International Committee of Medical Journal Editors, or ICMJE. And there are 4 criteria every author has to meet before they can be listed as an author. So the first is that they have to have made substantial contribution, and that is somewhere of a gray zone, because what is substantial to you may not be substantial to someone else. So that's where the judgment call comes and where you can go from an author to an acknowledgement. They must have drafted the content or at least have revised it. They should have approved the final revision, and they should also be able to stand by their what has been published. So they have to agree to be accountable and agree to the integrity of the data. So sometimes individuals may have contributed to a study, but they may not meet all four criteria. So then they will go as an acknowledgement. So depending on, maybe the final year student thinks that she has done a lot, but in terms of the lead author, she may not have done as much. So they could either go from an author to an acknowledgement. But the important thing about this is that all of these issues have to be discussed beforehand, so that before you decide to publish the study, the author, everybody who's involved, they should come to an agreement who should be the main author, who should be the last author, and who should be listed as an author, who should be listed as an acknowledgement in that paper. All right. Now, looking at conflict of interest, which is also another issue, we'll try to wrap it up fast. So let's talk about another case. So Dr. Khan, he just completed a study which is sponsored by Make Money Pharma. And what happened is that in that study, they found out that the new treatment, which is developed by this Make Money Pharma, was extremely effective. He submits his study for publication and mentions no conflict of interest. But the Mrs. Dr. Khan is a chief executive of Make Pharma, Make Money Pharma. So is there a conflict of interest? There is. Okay. So there is a conflict of interest, which is very obvious. So let's talk about what constitutes the conflict of interest. So any type of financial relationship, either for yourself or your spouse, or any of your significant other or your dependents, you have to, those will be financial. And then academic competition, if you are, and this is more for peer review. For example, somebody has published and you are also working. So if you have a conflict in that field, so you should not do the peer review for that. Any type of personal relationship constitutes a conflict of interest. Any moral conviction. So moral conviction, for example, if I'm morally against or religiously against abortions, and if the study is being conducted on the ethics of abortion or so forth, then I have to recuse myself from reviewing that study. So not so much from writing that study. So how do you handle conflict of interest? So sometimes these are unavoidable things. Having a conflict of interest is not always unethical, but not mentioning the conflict of interest is unethical. So you have to make sure that you maintain transparency, you monitor results for integrity, you use the ICMJE guidelines, which clearly outlines what are ethical principles, what constitutes as conflict of interest, and always make sure that you disclose any possible conflict of interest. So having a conflict of interest is not a problem. Not disclosing the conflict of interest is a problem. Alrighty. So these were all some of the ethical issues that I wanted to talk. In the last few minutes, I just want to go over some of the resources, and then very end, then I will talk about some of the summaries, and then I will end there. And if there are any questions, I'll be happy to answer there. So some of the resources. So there are three major resources which everybody should know about whenever they are doing publication. So the one important is the Committee on Publication Ethics, or COPE. The other one is the one I mentioned just now, and the other one is WAMI, or the World Association of Medical Ethics. And all of these three major entities have valuable resources. For example, there's a checklist, again, checklist from COPE, which think, check, submit checklist that you can use. There are flowcharts. They have e-learning courses. At least the first module of that e-learning course is free. The rest of them are fee-based. And they have multiple guidelines that you can review before you start publication. The ICMJE is one of the major resources which all the journals use, so you have to go and look at that. And then the WAMI also has a lot of collections for guidelines on ethical publications. The next resource is the Equator Network, which is established by the Oxford University. And the Equator Network, anytime you do any study, make sure that you first go to the Equator Network. And the reason being is that it has very clear guidelines, very clear checklists for any type of studies that you're doing. So for example, if there's a randomized trial, there is a consort checklist that you have to follow. For example, for observational study, there's STROBE. For systematic reviews, PRISMA. For case reports, there is a CARE. So all of these, and there are multiple resources there. So make sure that you follow that. If you're doing a systematic review, make sure that you register yourself using the PRISMA guidelines and so forth. All right. So these are some of the resources. So in conclusion, What are some of the common ethical problems, scientific problems? So number one, as we identify, is plagiarism, and not always plagiarism is intentional. A lot of time is unintentional. So it's using somebody else's work without attribution. You have to make sure that you provide citation. Do not copy exact words. If you're copying exact words, make sure you put in quotation marks. Duplicate publication, of course, submission more than one journal is not good. You need to wait until your paper is rejected and then submit to another. Fabrication, of course, a big no-no. You have to make sure that your paper is submit. It actually reflects the exact data and does not have any fabricated or fudged data. Some of the other issues are human welfare. I did not talk about it, but you want to make sure that if human subjects are involved in your study, you get the proper IRB approval. For that, conflict of interest is a big thing. Make sure that any financial benefit, professional competition, any kind of personal relationship has to be mentioned, and you have to disclose all potential conflicts. Authorship issues are big disputes. A lot of time, the friendships are broken because of that. So you want to make sure that you agree before writing the paper that what will be the authorship order, who will be added as an author, who will be not added as an author. And with that, I will say thank you. And again, thank you for listening.
Any question, Mic to do.
Assalamu alaikum. I just want to ask that, for example, we are doing a research. For example, we are doing a research on a topic like cardiovascular disease, a specific cardiovascular disease, and then we can, what you said about duplicate publication. I want to ask about that. Like, we can collect data about the same disease at the same time, but the data does not affect each other. So can we publish two different research papers on that?
One data, two publication.
So ideally not, because if the data, so whenever you're doing a research, you have to have a research hypothesis or a question, right? So if the data is reflecting that same hypothesis and when you're writing the paper is reflecting the same hypothesis, so you should try to put all the data in one paper. Instead of trying to create 2 or 3 publications from that data. If the research question is substantially different, and you're trying, so if in the same data you can reanalyze and try to answer a different question, right? So then you can use it. But if you're trying to answer the same questions, you cannot use the same data twice. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Any other question? One more.
Assalamu alaikum, sir. My question is that the problem arises when we actually do research, but the supervisors specifically, they get the first authorship. Is this right? And the criteria which ICMJ give us, which decides what the authors are. But the thing is that who will be the first, second, and the third author? This is the basic dispute which arises when we decide the authorship at the end of the research work we do. So can you guide us about this?
Yeah. So this is a huge problem. It happens all over the world. So the most important thing is that all the research is done under one supervisor. So that person makes sure who's the principal investigator, the PI of the study, that is the person who has the final authority. But they have to be fair and just. But at the same time, you need to make sure that you have these discussions, which are very difficult discussions, and make sure that discussions are hashed out before you're writing the paper. So who gets to be the first author, who gets to be the last author? A lot of time you just have to just sit and discuss and come to an agreement. Yeah, absolutely.
They have an undergraduate program in which they do their researches under their supervisor, and usually there is one supervisor taking care of all the students. So her question is especially pertaining to that area. That what should be done? Is the supervisor has the right to be the first author or the principal author? This is what she wanted to know.
Okay. Okay. So not always, right? So again, the thing is that the supervisor has to be just, and they have to do what is the right thing. So if they are not just, there must be some in chain of command, somebody above that supervisor that you can go to. I know as a student, it's not easy to do things like that. But again, when we're doing, again, it comes back to this personal accountability and integrity. So even for the supervisor, he has to show that integrity, that when he is doing something, it actually reflects. For example, if you have done the major share, so that, yeah, so that depends, that person should go as a first author. Usually the junior person, for their career progression, I usually put them as the first author, and they do the most of the work. And the supervisor goes as the last author. And then everybody else who has done work. That is how it should be. That's how academic institutes follow. But I mean, if your supervisor is not following that, then you should refer them to ICMJE. Blow the whistle. ICMJE. Yeah.
सर माय क्वेश्चन इज व्हाइल राइटिंग अ पेपर कितना जरूरी होता है कि आप जो प्राइमरी सोर्स है उसको साइट करें ना अगर आपने लिख रहे हो आपने सेकेंडरी सोर्स को साइट कर दिया क्या चांसेस ऑफ पब्लिकेशन उस पेपर के कम हो जाते हैं
So it's not the right thing to do. So you always have to cite the primary source whenever you are doing it. I mean, the chances of people may not catch on that right away, and the journal editors might not catch on it. But as a matter of principle, whenever you're writing a paper, you have to make sure that you always cite the primary source.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for clearing the questions. Actually, I think it all depends on the contribution you're doing. If what he's trying to say that कि अगर आपका major role है और आपका hard work है, तो you can request your supervisor कि सर मैंने ज़्यादा काम किया, बहुत softly उनसे request कर लीजिए और जो आप जहाँ आप कह रही हैं वो मेरा ख्याल है इतना अच्छा इंसान है सुन भी लेगा जी क्वेश्चन है डॉक्टर साहब प्लीज आप आ जाएं एक और क्वेश्चन माइक दे दो
Assalamualaikum, sir. Sir, for example, if you have a research based on a particular area, for example, a case report related to Peshawar or Karachi or a cross-sectional in a particular Pakistani region or Iran region, like whatever, if it's related to a particular region, you have to submit it to the journal of that particular region or it can be submitted to anywhere in the world.
In fact, it's better to submit it in an international journal because then that's how they know what is happening in that region. If you keep publishing in that regional, then people would not know. So it's very important to go out of that region, and it's not.
So that does not affect the chances of publication,
not
or
at all. Okay. Not at all.
So, thank you.
Any other question? पीछे जाओ.
Assalamualaikum, sir. Sir, I have to ask if हम जो data collection है वो some other university से करें, but where online resources like WhatsApp or like link हम उनको भेज रहे हैं और वहाँ से data collection पूरी हो रही है. So do we have to get permission from them like officially?
Yes.
Of course.
You have to take permission.
So whenever, so if this is a human data, like people are submitting some kind of a case report or what is this, questionnaires?
Yeah, it's like a questionnaire.
Questionnaire, yeah. So you have to get, of course. You cannot cannot collect data without getting the permission.
No, I'm talking about कि for example कि मैं एक अपनी यूनिवर्सिटी के अलावा किसी दूसरी यूनिवर्सिटी के स्टूडेंट से भी वो क्वेश्चनर फिल करवा रही हूँ एंड तो मुझे उस इंस्टीट्यूट की परमिशन लेना जरूरी है?
No, I don't think so. So if you are just contacting a student, if you're contacting them on the university campus, then you have to make sure, because this is the university campus, you're approaching them, then you have to get permission from them. If you're approaching them outside of them independently, and they're not being identified as that university student, but a university student, then you only need to get permission from that student. If you are identifying them as a student of Aga Khan University, then you have to make sure that you get permission from Aga Khan University.
Thank you, sir.
Agreed.
Yeah.
I hope you get the answer. What he is trying to say कि अगर आप उनकी यूनिवर्सिटी का नाम इस्तेमाल कर रहे हैं तो आपको परमिशन लेनी है. Like if it's a social sort of a research and you're not just using their name, not from which university they belong to, तो फिर it's okay to collect it. Thank you. Yes, definitely. We have undergraduate research program. जब ये सारे बच्चे research करते हैं, they cannot do their MBBS without doing a research. That's the reason for asking the question कि supervisor का नाम पहले क्यों होता है. Actually, the reason behind that कि वो main role उसमें supervisor को होता है. It's just to encourage them. तो बेचारा वो सुपरवाइजर मेजर काम कर रहा होता है, और मैं पर्सनली भी रिक्वेस्ट कर लूंगी कि अगर कोई शख्स बच्चा ज्यादा अच्छा काम कर रहा है तो फॉर अ चेंज उसको भी फर्स्ट ऑथर बनाते हैं. दिस आई विल मैनेज इट पर्सनली. ठीक है, अच्छा. program ka, let's move towards the second part of this program, which is our career guidance session. Career guidance हमारी तमाम alumni की कोशिश होती है कि आपको career guidance provide करें, and they are doing it for a long time. और उसमें उनके मुख्तलिफ उन्होंने काम किए हुए हैं. बेसिकली कैरियर गाइडेंस में होता क्या है, आपको 4 चीजें चाहिए होती हैं. इंफॉर्मेशन, वहाँ की रिक्वायरमेंट्स क्या है, वहाँ कैसे प्लान करना चाहिए, क्या प्रोसेस होता है, इंडिविजुअल केसेस में आपका एरिया ऑफ इंटरेस्ट क्या है, आप किस तरह से स्टार्ट पकड़ना चाहते हैं, आपको क्या गाइडलाइन चाहिए. गाइडलाइन किस सिलसिले में चाहिए, आपको कॉन्टैक्ट इन्फॉर्मेशन चाहिए. लाइक इफ यू आर गोइंग टू यूके, यू वांटेड टू नो इज देयर समवेयर देयर व्हाट देयर व्हिच हु कैन हेल्प मी. कोई ऐसा शख्स, मेरा एलुमनाई कोई ऐसा शख्स है जो मुझे हेल्प आउट कर सके. देन द सपोर्ट, द फोर्थ पोर्शन इज द सपोर्ट, व्हिच इज द रिसोर्स एंड द काउंसलिंग. हमारी एलुमनाई जो है काफी अरसे से काम कर रही है इस पे, बट स्ट्रक्चरली हमने लास्ट ईयर 2021 में डॉक्टर यूनुस के उसमें ये कमेटी फॉर्म की थी, विच इज वर्किंग. और इस कमेटी में डिस्पाइट ऑफ द कोविड हमारे पास 2 सक्सेसफुल बच्चे बैठे हुए हैं यहाँ पे, जो आपको आप ही में से हैं, एसएमसीएन है, और एक यूके का अपना उसने प्रोसेस किया हुआ है, एक यूएस का. तो वो आपको अपना पर्सनल जर्नी भी बताएंगे. उस जर्नी में एलुमनाई ने उन्हें क्या सपोर्ट किया, मुख्तलिफ स्टेजेस पर उनकी कैरियर काउंसलिंग की गई, उनको मेंटोरिंग की गई, उनको तमाम सपोर्ट प्रोवाइड की गई. दिस इज जस्ट टू शो दैट वी आर डूइंग इट, एंड व्हाट यू हैव टू डू इज जस्ट टू कम इन द फ्रंट लाइन. आप बताएं हमें कि आपको क्या सपोर्ट चाहिए. I am working over here as a chair of alumni affairs. You can contact me individually. They are going to give you the address of their website, जहाँ आप वहाँ भी पूछ सकते हैं. So ऐसा नहीं है कि आपको सपोर्ट नहीं करना चाहते. आप यकीन करें कि मैंने तो जब भी किसी बच्चे के लिए कहा है, हम फौरन कोई ना कोई हमारा alumni उस एरिया ऑफ इंटरेस्ट में होता है और वो उनको सपोर्ट करता है. So all these are members of alumni who are working in different areas of the globe. जो आप मैं इसको चेयर कर रही हूँ, रिजवान नहीं मेरे साथ को चेयर हैं, यूनुस इज द कोऑर्डिनेटर, जावेद साहब सुहेल कादी दोनों यूके से देख रहे हैं, आसिफ यूएसए में है, शाजिया मकसूद किंगडम ऑफ सऊदी अरेबिया में है. इसी तरह वी हैव पर्सन्स फॉर ऑस्ट्रेलिया एंड कनाडा एंड इन पाकिस्तान ज़ियाउल इस्लाम. So we are doing it. And these sessions are the proof for it. आप लोग अपना, जैसे आप अब की दफा आप लोगों ने कहा कि आप लोगों को इंडिविजुअल सेशंस चाहिए, तो हमें वर्कशॉप चाहिए. मेरे पास यासीन आए और उन्होंने कहा कि मैडम ज्यादा बेहतर होगा कि इफ यू गो फॉर अ वर्कशॉप, क्योंकि आप लोग कहीं बाहर जाके वो वर्कशॉप अटेंड करते हैं, तो व्हाई नॉट ओवर हियर. तो वो वर्कशॉप में आपकी अटेंडेंस भी बहुत अच्छी थी. दिस शोज योर इंटरेस्ट एंड विल कंटिन्यू टू हैव सच सॉर्ट ऑफ वर्कशॉप फॉर यू पीपल. सो let's go towards our career guidance session, and the first person is Dr. Nagmana Shafi. And आप उनका डेडिकेशन देखें कि नगमाना जब मैं सुबह सो के उठी हूँ जब से ऑनलाइन है. This shows her dedication. Nagmana है. This shows her dedication. She's a proud SMCN. She is doing mentoring for the last so many years. Or just go to her Facebook site and you can ask her questions and you can request of her mentoring. She is doing a tremendous job. Or Nagmana, hello, can you hear me? Hello, Nagmana. Please unmute kare. Nagmana is a diploma at American Board of Pediatrics. एक्चुअली सुबह से वो बैठी हुई है हमारे 7 बजे से. द फर्स्ट हाँ वो कर रहे टेक्स्ट.
Assalamualaikum. Can you hear me?
Yes, Nagmana, we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you. Thank you very much, Nagmana. आपके लिए कुछ भी कहना कम है और नगमाना ने जर्नी शुरू नगमाना ने किया था, बाकी हम बाद में हम सब ज्वाइन करते रहे हैं. It's over to you, Nagmana.
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Okay, all right, thank you. इसलिए उसमें इन्होंने chat में लिखा. Okay. So, Assalamualaikum Rahat, Assalamualaikum everyone. It's a pleasure to be able to communicate with you. And मैं तो हमेशा आप लोगों के पास आती हूँ खुद से कई सालों से और बस इस दफ़ा जो है वो नहीं आना हो सका तो राहत आपका बहुत शुक्रिया. आपने जो है कहा कि हम जो है वो इसको जो है ऑनलाइन कर सकते हैं. तो let me go ahead and start sharing my slides. And if any issue, then you can go ahead and actually do it from there. Can you see my slides? Hang on. Trying to share my slides and it's not. Okay. Okay. Let's see. Can you see my slides, please? Let me know. Can you?
Yes. Yes, we can see your slide.
Okay, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, so so most of you actually know me because I keep communicating with you in different ways, in person as well as online. I have been counseling students for many, many years, more than 20 years, and specifically I'm working with students of Sindh Medical College and other JSMU institutions for the last 10 years. So what I am going to go over is kind of an overview, and then I will give you some other options to continue this talk which we are doing today. So the first and foremost, actually, Dr. Iqbal Afridi already said what is my first slide. Plan your own way. It is your life. They are your goals. Look at the big picture. Be happy and content with yourself and be a good doctor who is a blessing for patients. And that's most important way of life. Then different steps and what I'm kind of going to share with you, a lot of things you already know, but as I work with you, specifically Sindh Medical College, I said, at JSMU students, these particular things come up, and I thought I will give you it as an overview because a lot of information already available online, which you guys do a great job picking up. So first and foremost, start early. Fourth year of medical college is the best time to get started. Improve your medical knowledge and your skills. Get organized. Make study plans regularly. I have to say that the life in United States and the trainings are very fast paced and you have to be on time. वक्त की पाबंदी करना, बहुत सारे कामों को एक साथ करना और उसको mix up नहीं करना, and that is very, very important. So start training yourself to do that. Then learn exam taking skills. There are a lot of students, their knowledge is amazing. Whatever I ask them, they will answer. And as a lot of you know my background, that I work with medical students. I'm director of clerkship for the medical school I work with. And I also work with residents. So they can answer whatever I ask, but once they take the exams, their scores do not reflect what they know. So keep practicing in different ways how to take your exams. Know that when we go to the residency program directors and we ask them, what do you want? USMLE scores are the most important one to get a residency. It's like a knock on the door. So that's the most important thing, followed by your year of graduation. It is becoming more and more important. So try to get into your residency application and apply for MESH as soon as you can. So around 4th year, pick up 3 to 4 specialties you like, and then you use your final year clinical rotations to make yourself one of the best in these rotations. Make yourself shine. That will be your first step to see if you fit in it. This is something you have to do the rest of your life. So make sure you're comfortable in. Then work on building your CV. We had this excellent presentation by Dr. Sarfaraz. And research, poster presentation, publications are important. Contribution to public health, volunteer work, teamwork skills, anything. If you go and work with AD Foundation and volunteer there and organize one of their camps, that's also your teamwork. Teaching skills, you go to one of the schools and teach children about health or teach them about mathematics, doesn't matter. The peer group teaching, all those skills are very important in your CV. Public health or healthcare management courses are becoming more and more important, so they are important. Now, once you do all these things, learn how to present it clearly and confidently. Interpersonal skills, this is where it takes us. Now, there's a whole cultural difference in how you interact with your teachers and others in Pakistan versus United States. You're really, really afraid of your teachers. Over here, we treat our medical students and residents like friends. So yeah, they're like co-workers, okay? So the way of interaction and expectation is very, very different. So I still remember that when I started my residency and I went there and I was with a teacher, so I couldn't sit down in the chair. I just could not. My professor was sitting on the chair. I had to stand. And then he went, he's like, oh, there is a chair. Can't you see it? Have a seat. So it's a completely different way of interaction. And the people are very, very confident. The students, the residents, they look in your eye, make a good eye contact, not look away. And then they say what they have to say. Treat every other person with kindness, whether it's your nursing staff, clerical staff, and the other thing is that listen well. Pakistan में बहुत ज़्यादा ये है कि आपने बात अपनी खत्म नहीं की और फिर दूसरे लोग बोलना शुरू कर देते हैं. जो हमारे बहुत सारे टीवी शोज वगैरह होते हैं उसमें भी यही हो रहा होता है. लेकिन यहाँ उमूमन लोग जब आप डिस्कशन कर रहे होते हैं तो आपकी बात जब खत्म होती है तो दूसरा आदमी बोलना शुरू करता है. So be a good listener. Let the others finish talking before you speak and appear confident. अगर आप जो है नजरें चुराएंगे, नीचे देखेंगे, हवा में देखेंगे, ये सब करेंगे और आप confidence नहीं दिखाएंगे इंटरव्यू में, तो it does not look good. Then how you talk about yourself and your communication skills is very, very important. I do mock interviews for a bunch of physicians who are applying for match, and what I saw a lot over the last few years that when I'm doing these mock interviews and talking to them and even in real life, their CV looks great. There are 10 papers, there are 20 papers. So I pick one research paper and I ask them, okay, tell me about this paper. And now they go, oh, that one. And now they start kind of thinking, which makes me think actually what Dr. Sarfaraz was talking about. Did he really like this paper or did he just made it up or whatever? So whatever you do, it does not have to be 20. 5 or 6 good papers which you can very nicely present, and the quality papers are important. And then please practice in front of the mirror, record yourself. You have capability of using your phones, whatever way, play yourself and see how you look when you are communicating. And then one of the biggest resources which actually Dr. Irfan Suleiman has created for you is all of us giving lectures. Try to listen to those lectures. That will also give you an idea how people talk in the healthcare. Get help. That is actually very, very important. But before you get help, and then we are here to help you, do your homework before asking questions. If you are going to ask questions which make no sense, then you are not going to get a good answer. Ask good questions, and it's perfectly okay to ask a lot of questions. And know your mentors. ask people who have done what you are planning to do. If you are going to ask someone who is has not done that, then you're not going to get appropriate answers. You will get different kind of information from immediate seniors, practicing physicians, teaching faculty who work with medical students and residents. You gather all this information, talk to everyone, do a reality check, okay? Do a reality check, make sure what is good for you and where you fit in it, and then plan for yourself. Remember, only you know what is best for you. Now, these are your JSMU resources. We have this students and faculty mentoring group. A lot of you have been part of it. We do these small workshops by Zoom. We have done it through Facebook, and this is also a good way to reach out to us, and we can help you in whatever you want. And it is completely your group. Whatever questions you have, we are there to answer. Once a student asked me what they can do, like to go to Saudi Arabia and the surgical skills, and we had someone come who is a surgeon in Saudi Arabia talk about it. Then you already had this workshop, and you had a presentation about Apna Young Physician Group, excellent resource. And it is also a real-time resource. So whatever is happening each year will be there. And as all of you know, that due to COVID and due to a lot of changes happening, each year now is different from the last year. And as I try to tell my other colleagues who are not in touch with the students and residents, is that each year different kind of support is needed for students. This is the email, it's mentor.jasmwana@gmail.com. Feel free to take a picture and feel free to email us, and we will help you out. We'll give you a mentor, and we can help you in whatever way we can. And then jasmwana.net is a big resource. So what we can do now, I also want to kind of clear up, because we get so many requests and we have so many different expectations from us. So I really wanted to pin it down, what we can do. So first and foremost, we can mentor you. We can tell you how it feels to be a psychiatrist, how it feels to be a pediatrician, how it feels to be a surgeon, and whatever the lifestyle and the journey you go through. We can also guide you for US clinical electives as medical students and observerships as graduates. We can review your CVs. Now, this is a big problem. Your CVs and personal statements most of the time need a lot of revisions. I spent a lot of time this year, as well as my other colleagues did, revising the CVs and your personal statements so your application is more competitive. We can do mock interviews, which we did this year, and before your match season, to help you learn how to perform better. And then we can answer your questions about expectations of residency programs from you. And what you can do, since it's a two-way communication, you have to start by preparing a good CV to introduce yourself for your mentors and supporting volunteer physicians. Know that all of us are volunteering. So if you can tell us something about it, except saying that my name is this, and I would like to get an elective. Well, tell me a little bit more about you, a short CV will be a good way. And we can definitely work with you through our small workshops and teach you how you can write a better CV and a US style CV. So also prepare a good US elective request and explain why do you want this elective. I get an email saying, I want to do an elective in medicine. Okay, why do you want to do an elective in medicine? What were your scores? What are you trying to learn from it? So start preparing and getting these documents reviewed by any helper who knows how to compose it in a US style correspondence and documents way. So for example, I, ABCD, is son of GHIJ, want elective, should be, my name is ABCD, and I would like to apply for elective rotation. Professionalism is ethics. We talked about in research, it goes all along the medicine. Be kind, be gentle, be courteous in your interactions with your seniors. Know what that they are volunteering to help you. during the precious time they have for their families, friends, or to just rest and sleep and relax. They have a very busy work schedules. One of my biggest struggle is to get more people to help you. So there is also a day and night difference, as you know. So be mindful of their time contribution and do not cancel meetings for mentoring at last minute and expect communications on the weekends from all these people most of the time. So let's say I set around these 2 hours for me to talk to the students. Now half of them canceled it for whatever reason. Well, if you're sick or something, it's completely understandable. But without letting someone know, and I do understand that there can be a power breakdown, but just communicate what happened. And please and thank you are two great words. Let's use them frequently, please. Now, analyze your plans frequently. It is very important. So let's go over some common questions which people ask me all the time. Do house job? Yes. Plan for US electives in 4th or final year. It is a good time, best time. Plan to do USMLE as soon as you can after graduation with good preparation, especially step 2 because step 1 is pass and fail only. Things happen, life changes, pandemic, stops travel. All those things happen, right? Be like a flowing river and be ready to reassess and change your plans as needed. And it's okay to change plans. It is your life, your future, your family, and your friends. Look at the big picture, be happy, content, be a good doctor who is a blessing for your patients. Remember, good deeds live longer than us. Even when they are gone from this world, they are there. Help others and make a circle of family of JSMU students and alumni supporting each other. Let's make this circle bigger and bigger. So I would like all new graduates to come and become part of it, because whenever I help someone and they said thank you, I said my best thank you is that you help someone else. So I wish all of you all the best on Golden Jubilee of SMC. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Nagmana. And it's a pleasure to have you on board. Thank you, Nagmana. मैं थोड़ा सा यहाँ पे थोड़ा सा interrupt कर रही हूँ अपने session को. We have with us Dr. Rehana Siddiqui. She has just joined us in our Apna Institute of Public Health, and she has come from the AKU, and she's in SMCN. So give her a big hand of applause. Dr. Rehana is looking towards all of you for projects and contributions. आ जाए खुद बोल.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rahat. And Assalamu alaikum, everyone. I welcome all our alumni from SMC. I'm also from SMC, and I have recently joined Apna Institute of Public Health, and I'm taking care of it right now. So I would like to invite you. I was looking forward yesterday to your visit from alumni group, but we have two major programs: Masters of Science in Public Health and Bachelors in Science in Public Health. So we look forward for academic, collaboration and partnerships with our alumni, with other, potential participants, so that we promote these public health programs and work further. So I just requested Dr. Rahat that if we can meet, some of, and I welcome you. Please do come and visit us at IPH. Thank you. Thank you, dear. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Dr. Rehana. So our next speaker is Dr. Shazia Maqsood. Dr. Shazia Maqsood is the director of residency program for Ops and Gynecology and Pediatrics in Sulaiman Al Habib Al Rayyan Hospital, one of the largest and busiest hospital in Riyadh. She is also a fellow of RCOG, RCPI, and ACOG. Plus, she's a prominent alumni. जब कभी भी हमने आवाज दी है, शाजिया ने always हमें लब्बैक कहा है, be it a online lecture, be it a session or a Zoom meeting. Thank you, शाजिया, और ये मेरी नीज भी है. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Assalamu alaikum rahmatullahi barakatuh, everybody. Thank you, Dr. Rahat. Thank you, JSMU, Anna. And thank you, everybody who can attend this morning. This is a very, very informative session. And I have also learned a lot of things, and I'm sure you're also enjoying as much as we are enjoying. I will start my presentation. Like, my presentation is mostly about very practical steps on how to apply for a job in Saudi Arabia. So obviously we would expect that you would have finished your house jobs and be applying there, as a resident, as a specialist, or as a consultant even, once you are up in your career. So the first thing, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam used to pray in the morning, and he used to say, Allahumma inni as'aluka. Allahumma inni as'aluka means, oh Allah, I ask you. I ask you for what? Number one is rizqan tayyiban. That I get Pak risk. Ilman nafian. That ilm that is beneficial for me. And that is where the plot of my presentation lies. Ilman nafian. Do you learn kar rahe hain yahan pe? Usko aap apply kare aur usse nafa kamaएं. And the third part of that dua of Prophet Muhammad in the morning is ilman nafian wa amalan muttaqabbilan. Amalan aap aise amal kare jo Allah ke nazdeek maqbool ho. So we start our presentation with this dua, so that whatever presentation we are doing today, जो हो चुकी हैं और जो अभी आने वाली हैं, वो उससे आपको नफा हो. हम दिल से चाहते हैं कि वो आपके लिए beneficial हो. So attraction of working in Saudi Arabia, obviously apart from Makkah and Medina, you can have frequent visits over the weekend, etc., is also it's the biggest marketplace in availability for job opportunities in comparison to other Middle East countries. The most important thing also is that, if you are working in UK, obviously you're in a progression of your career. If you're working in Ireland or if you're working in USA, yes, you are at the progression of career. But a very important practical tip is there is still 7% tax in Saudi Arabia in comparison to 40% and 50% taxes in the other countries where you're planning your career ahead. So be very careful and be very educated about, where you're going to start your career in and where you're going to take your family to. It's a low cost of living and there is a lot of saving potential. Working amongst multicultural and multinational companies, so it gives you a diverse idea of, working with not only with Arab colleagues, but also with European colleagues and American colleagues, and you learn a lot from that kind of diversity. And it makes you a better person when you learn tolerance, to be working in diverse personalities as well. It is an Islamic environment. I was talking to a couple of colleagues, yesterday. And we were talking about Saudi is basically best of both the worlds. So you have a bit of Western influence, a bit of American influence, and of course you have an Islamic influence as well. So for those of you who practice Islam on a daily basis, it's very easy, because if you're working in a clinic and if it's time for Salah, everybody will be doing Salah. Or if you're praying, the Ramadan timing is not 8 hours a day, it's 6 hours a day. So, the religion is part of your work schedule as well over there as well. And the big difference that I found, because I was educated after, I am an SMC and from 1993, and we used to sit in the very hall that you are sitting, and we used to wonder, would there be one day that we'll be going abroad and it did come. So, for all of you who are envisioned today or who are really working towards a goal of perhaps going abroad and, broaden your horizon, this has been the place that we were in. So we are very lucky to be back to our alumni, to our alma mater. And there are attractive remuneration and packages. And I can tell you with experience, because I worked in Ireland and I worked in England and then I worked in Saudi. So the progression from one place to the other was that when I was hired as a consultant in Saudi Arabia, I was given a package. And that package was talking about, okay, we will give you a relocation allowance. We'll give you education allowance for your 2 children until they are 18 years old. And we are also going to give you a turnkey house, and we'll give you a transport to and from the hospital. So that was something that I took a 3-month sabbatical. I said, I'm going to go and test the waters in Saudi Arabia. And if it does not work in three months' time, I'm going to go back to London. And I was coming alone. So obviously a big issue is, kya akeli aurat Saudi Arabia mein kaam kar sakti hai ki nahi? So I'm a living example of that. It's been 13 years. I never looked back. So My employer back in England rang me back in 4 months' time and said, Shaziz, are you coming back? I'm like, are you giving me a recuperation model that Saudi is providing? He said, can we send our CV as well? So that was a talk 13 years ago. I'm very thankful with whoever people I met across in this career, but I'll be a good sort of advocate of, having the best of both worlds. Okay, in England, in Ireland, and USA, there's a lot of issue about, teaching your children the Islamic values which you would like to teach, following yourself, because Friday is a working day in England, Friday is a working day in Ireland, Friday is a working day over here as well, whereas Friday is a holiday in Saudi Arabia. So you can plan your salah, you can plan your psalm and everything. So a lot of things come to the, Dr. Afridi correctly said that you have to have a 360 view of your life. Your career is not everything, but your deen and dunya needs to run together. Okay, so is it hard? We are going to answer the following questions. Is it hard to work in Saudi Arabia? How can I work as a doctor in Saudi Arabia? What healthcare jobs are available to me? Can a woman work and live alone in Saudi Arabia? How much do we earn in Saudi Arabia? And what's the cost of living in Saudi Arabia? I'm going to be very practical. You're hearing about researches, you're hearing about and Sarfraz had an excellent presentation. You're hearing about career options in the US, you're hearing about career options over here. You need to know the practical points. You need to know the practical point, and this is what the presentation is about. So your application process, like any expectation, starts with the CV and your experience certificates and your PMDC and your degrees and your passport and photographs. So when you're doing that, please be very, very mindful about, things like data flow, which can take as long as 3 to 6 months. Be mindful about how much the person who is hiring you from Pakistan and taking you to Saudi Arabia, how much they are charging. Make sure they are not a scam. So we will have some authentic websites and authentic companies' names over here for you as well to take. This is going to be very practical for you. So how and where to apply? There are institutional HRs, there are websites, there are recruiters, and there are about 415 governmental hospitals and 127 private hospitals in Saudi Arabia. 270 of them are under the Ministry of Health. And how and where to apply? These are few websites which are all authentic websites that you can chase and you can apply on. You may not need to go through the recruiter locally in Karachi or anywhere in Islamabad or Lahore for that matter. If a hospital is hiring you directly, they will tell you who their agent is, who can help you in applying without minting any money or without pulling your precious finance out of your pockets. Okay, so the full process is that you have an interview. It could either be a Zoom interview, or it could either be a walk-in interview. And then you have the job offer. Then you have a contract and salary negotiation. And my humble advice to you, I don't work in HR, but I'm a consultant myself, and I do sit in residency interviews, and I do sit in hiring and training committees, and I do sit in renegotiation committees as well. So I can tell you of experience, for those of you who are good in communication skills can walk through the negotiations as well. So be good in talking and selling yourself. That's very important as well when it comes to career planning ahead. So there is a medical fitness and checkup, and every city in Pakistan literally has fitness checkup centers. You have to have your lab works ready. So like if you're applying in any of these countries, especially Saudi Arabia, so the first thing is you have your lab works ready, your hepatitis screening, your HIV screening, your diabetes screening, or CBC full blood count, have them ready because they're valid for 1 year. So while you're processing, you won't be wasting precious time in trying to look for an agent who can do these things for you. You need a biometric fingerprinting. We are all aware of that. There are biometric centers in Karachi. You need to have a police clearance certificate as well. If you're relocating with your spouse, you need to have a marriage certificate. And if you're relocating with your kids and the spouse, you need to have the kids certificates as well. You need to have a work visa process and a protectorate. That's the last thing that you do. Protectorate is that before leaving from Pakistan. And your prometric exam is very necessary, and I'll give you the website of the prometric, and I'll tell you exactly how much percentage is required for different faculties or different subspecs. So the most important thing in the previous slide over here is also that whatever certificates you have, get them translated into Arabic as well, and get them attested locally as well. So all these things, believe you me, we would hire somebody and then it's going to take another 6 months for them to complete their process. So if you're well aware of, what is the process, and you keep everything ready, that's going to save you, kill a lot of time for you. Okay, so preparation for your interview, I think Dr. Nagmana very, very clearly, explained that to you as well. It could be either online or it could be in person. Please make sure your background is not like pink, purple, mauve, orange with kid stickers, like you're not using a kid's bedroom to give an interview. So be very professional and dress appropriately. And your communication skills should be a good USP. USP means ultimate selling point. So your communication skills, looking into the eye of the interviewer, is very important. So so the document attestation is your degrees by your respective boards, your Higher Education Commission HEC documentation, the Ministry of Foreign Affairs MOFA, Ministry of National Health Services regulation, and then Saudi Embassy. So this is your documentation attestation procedure. Please, this is an important slide. You can take a photo of that for whoever wants to do, because this is where you lack expertise, and then you get depressed if nobody says, you say nobody's telling me what to do. And sometimes, these offices are, speaking more Arabic than English, and then you get back, and then you get laid back and say, "Acha, main aisa karta hu, main Australia ke liye try kar leta hu, New Zealand chala jaunga." So you need to know you need to do your homework very well before you do all these things. So the visa process, again, there are local recruiters. There's in FTC, there's Saudi consulate, approved medical examination centers. You need to have a valid passport. You need to have the fee ready. Single visa or family visa, the fee depend on that, and Arabic translation of the documents. So the GAMCA, or the medical checkup visits for Saudi Arabia, that's their number. They have a Facebook presence as well, on the social media as well. So they are very fast. They usually give you all the results and the paperwork within 72 hours. They don't have any urgent fee or anything, but like you need to know where to actually go to. And how to get your passport stamp from protectorate for immigrants in Pakistan. Again, that's very important. That's the last job. Jate jate bhi aapki tang zarur khechi jayegi, so that is protectorate from passport. So that's the procedure for the protectorate. They have a website. Do read that website. Do go step by step so that you save your precious time. So the Prometric exam, that's the www.prometric, and it's called Mumaris. And they have a website and they have an application as well. You can apply through the website and you can apply through the application. And for resident exam, you need to score a minimum of 50%. For specialist, you need to score a minimum of 60%. For a consultant, you need to score a minimum of 70%. And there are total 3 attempts for Prometric. So there are books available. There are courses available. You can contact me at the end of the talk. You can take this talk as well. So we can show you how to work for your Prometric exam. It's an online exam. And then Saudi Council for Health Facility Services eligibility number. So Mumaris will issue you an eligibility number. And then once you're registered, you can schedule and you can pay your fee, take the exam, booking confirmation, take your passport with you, and please arrive on time. And so basically what we are looking for in Saudi is 2 to 3 years of minimum working experience. Your 3 basic documents, your employment certificates, your education certificate and license can cost you around 850 riyals. There's an additional employment certificate, 300 Saudi riyal fees for that as well. So I'm giving you very practical tips. You're all very learned professionals sitting there and aspiring to be learned physicians. You need to have some practical aspect as well. जैसे हमारे स्कूल में ना सिखाते हैं हमें अलजेब्रा की कीमतें x plus y is equal to z. उसके बाद जब से आपने जो है वो माशाल्लाह से क्वालिफाई किया है, कितनी दफा आपने जी की कीमत निकाली? नहीं ना, लेकिन टैक्स तो आपको हर साल भरना पड़ता है, वो तो हमें स्कूल में सिखाया ही नहीं, राइट? उसके अलावा जिंदगी कैसे गुजारनी है, स्पाउसेस को कैसे ट्रीट करना है, हमें कैसे ट्रीट होना है स्पाउसेस से, बच्चों की तरबियत कैसे करनी है, वो तो हमें सिखाया नहीं, राइट? तो बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट चीज है कि आप प्रैक्टिकल स्टेप्स जो हैं, टिप्स जो हैं वो इस प्रेजेंटेशन से ले लीजिए. Then flights and accommodation. So your employer, once they employ you, they arrange the flight and they arrange your accommodation. So that's all taken care of by the employer who is employing you. Whether you're employed in the government sector or whether you're employed in the private sector, your flights will be paid and your accommodation will be paid. So what happened on your arrival? You get a pickup at the airport. You are advised to come to the Office of Ministry of Health. And then in case if there's nobody, then there is a number that's given to you, and then you can arrange your transport from there. You report to work the following day. You have an induction week, and then you have a hospital-wide orientation. And then you are issued a hospital ID and code. You do your BLS if you have not done it already. So I would recommend, I'm sure, how many of you have done your BLS already? 1, 2, see? Career वालों पीछे एक हाथ, इस पूरे हॉल में 3 हाथ उठे हैं, right? माशाल्लाह. तो I would really recommend you BLS कर लीजिए, क्योंकि वो 5 साल के लिए valid होता है कि आप कहीं पे भी दुनिया में apply करेंगे, they will always ask you for a BLS. आप job के लिए सऊदी अरेबिया आओगे, तो the first thing is they will not let you touch a patient without the BLS certificate. So get all these hurdles out of your way before you go. So if you have a valid BLS certificate, that thing will be omitted when you arrive. ACLS also, ATLS are obviously optional, but very, very helpful. Integration in the department rota and your IQAMA processing, that can take about 3 months. I have a lot of residents or a lot of specialists or consultants coming to us, and the first month they come, they say, umre pe jana hai, IQAMA abhi tak nahi hua. All right, and then they feel that they are suffocated because unka IQAMA abhi tak nahi hua, because you cannot move in the kingdom unless you have your residence permit there. It takes 3 months at least, you know. So अगर आप इस point of view से आ रहे हैं कि मैं जुमेरात को लैंड करूंगा और जुम्मे की नमाज मक्के में पढ़ लूंगा, तो ये पॉसिबल नहीं है. तो आपको पहले अपना पेपर वर्क कंप्लीट करना है, उसके बाद आप उम्रे पे जाइए, चाहे मदीना जाइए, चाहे रियादुल जन्नह जाइए. हमारे लिए भी दुआ कीजिए, अपने लिए भी दुआ कीजिए, लेकिन that is always a process. It takes about 3 months for your IQAMA. Then there are Ministry of Health hostels. You submit your passport on arrival, you get a stamped photocopy for your record, your passport is sent to your work to the HR, and your medical examination and hospital letter is given to you. You join the hospital with all the documents and the appointment letter, you sign the contract, and it's Mudiria for the government doctors and local HR for any public sector. You book your prometric exam date the week you arrive. Please do not delay that. Okay, you book your prometric exam on the day you arrive, and then you know, your data flow from Saudi Commission can again take about 6 to 8 weeks. I have a lot of issues with the doctors who are not bringing the complete documents and then complaining that the system is a bit hard. So if you have been given a list of documents and if you haven't converted them into Arabic and if you haven't got them stamped, then obviously the prometric or any biometric will delay you. Okay, and then the hospital provides you malpractice insurance. So Faraz, are you listening? The hospital provides you with full malpractice insurance. Okay, all right, so the probation and ongoing personal practice evaluation, the first 3 months are your probation period. So your paperwork, once you are hired, go through the probationary committee, and the probationary committee will settle that whether you are able to continue after 3 months or not. So that 3-month probation period is not only for the employer, but also for you. It's for your own protection as well. Like as I said, I came to Saudi 13 years ago to test the waters for 3 months, and then I never left. So somebody could differ from me, and they say, no, we do not like Saudi, and we would like to go back. And it can happen, you know. Sometimes your children don't like the place. Sometimes your children are missing their friends. Sometimes your spouse is missing their own culture from wherever they're coming up from, and people do leave. So that 3-month period is, you know, no liability for both the parties, and you can go back. But obviously you will miss all those you know, perks that come from that job. Okay, so okay, all right, yes, all right, okay, right. Do I need to read the slide? Sabne pad li? Tasveer le li? All right, okay. So average monthly salary is about, like annual salary is about 471,000 a year. Some of my friends, you know, when I met them back in 2018 over here, you know, for a reunion from JSMU Ana, they were thinking that I'm earning probably 50 million or 60 million. I'm like, nahi, zameen par aa jao, hum bhi zameen par hi hain, right? Okay. All right. So for a resident, it's somewhere between 14 to 18,000 real. For a specialist, it's somewhere between 18 to 25,000 real. For a consultant, it's somewhere between 30,000 real and upward. Okay, so life in general, there are schools which are American, there are schools which are British, there are schools with multi-curriculum, there are schools with dual curriculum. So your kids are very well taught, you know, if you're coming in a country like Saudi Arabia. Your spouse can work if they are under your visa. You can get a house help especially if you are coming as a specialist or a consultant visa. Okay, driving most of the hospitals, like I'm working in OB/GYN discipline, and so I live within 3-mile radius of the hospital, and the hospital will give you a pick and drop for as many times you have to come to the hospital. So your transport is managed by the hospital. Also, your airport pickups and drops are managed by the hospital. Okay, so health insurance, wherever you're employed, you have a health insurance covered not only for you, but also for your spouse and also for your 2 children. And if you're bringing your parents, it can be extended to your parents as well. So all health insurance general is covered, except for, of course, cosmetic and dental procedures. Okay. Learning Arabic will be a big, plus and bonus for you guys. When I came to Saudi back in 2008, I was given an interpreter, translator, who stayed with me for 10 months. And then I asked her if she can stay out of the clinic and let me practice and see how, and then alhamdulillah, I did not have to use the interpreter. So it took me about 10 months to learn Arabic, and now alhamdulillah, I'm fluent in Arabic as well. But it would really be beneficial. You know, some of you may have chosen French as a second language or Spanish as a second language. So why not choose Arabic as your second language? क्योंकि जो मुसलमान मर के कब्र में जाएगा, जवाब तो आपको अरबी में ही देने हैं. वहां ना अंग्रेजी काम आनी है ना स्पेनिश काम आनी, तो क्यों ना अभी से लर्न कर लिया जाए, right? Okay. So cost of living in Saudi Arabia is pretty darn lesser than in comparison to UK or in comparison to Ireland or in comparison to US. And a family of 4 estimated monthly cost is about, like family of 4 including your school expenses and everything, is roughly about 15,000 riyal. Okay, and single person estimate monthly cost is about 6,000 plus riyal. I'm giving you very practical tips, ladies and gentlemen, because exam निकालना आप सबको आता है, exam में कैसे पास होना है आपको सबको आता है, लेकिन जिंदगी गुजारने का तरीका वो भी अब आप सीख लीजिए. Okay, so is it hard to get a job in Saudi Arabia? After today, I think you all learned something today, right? Okay, how can I work as a doctor in Saudi Arabia? We just went through that. What healthcare jobs are in demand in Saudi Arabia? All healthcare jobs are in demand in Saudi Arabia, and the Vision 2030, and eventually up until next year, we need 10,000 extra doctors from outside. And we love to hire Pakistani doctors. The overall concept in Saudi community is that Pakistani doctors are very conscientious, very hardworking, and their differential diagnosis is better than Saudi doctors, so yay. Okay? Okay. Can women work and live alone in Saudi Arabia? Like, come on. Yes. Okay. And how much do the doctors earn? We just spoke about that. What's the cost of living in Saudi Arabia? We just described that. So 10,000 doctors required by next year. And then who gets rejected, who does not follow all these things, or, who would come there and look very clumsy and are not on time, not punctual, the usual things. What I've seen mostly the rejections are when they get intimidated by the Saudi culture. That, there are too many restrictions, etc. So those are the kind of people who will not stay for that long. Okay, so this is Dr. Sulman Al-Habib, where I'm working. I have been the department head for 10 years, and I'm now the training program director for residency training. These are some of our collaborations with the Royal College of Obstetrician and Gynecologists, RCPI in Dublin, Ireland. And these are some of our hospitals all over Saudi Arabia. There is one in Medina, and there is 2 in Jeddah coming up, and we are hiring very, very actively. So if you're interested, just go on Sulman Al-Habib website. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Dr. Shazia, for a very nice presentation. इसको सुन के तो मैं भी सोच रही हूँ सऊदी अरब चली हूँ. आप में से कितने लोग सोचने लगे? या देखिए, शाजिया, this is the art of speaking कि आपने सऊदी अरब की जॉब्स भेज दी. मैं वाकई में बैठी सोच रही थी कि I should also apply.
My son was 5-year-old when he went to came back and he said 2 things. Mama, the queen is very old. Mama, the queen is a very old lady. And Mama, the queen wants to make sure we are never rich.
Thank you. Let's go to Australia. After Saudi Arabia, let's go to Australia. I would like to invite Dr. Mateen from Australia. He is my class fellow and he's in Australia for the last 30 years dealing with emergency. 28 years, दो कम कर दूं मैं. 28 years and he is doing emergency pediatrics. Please, Mateen. So आपको कितने अच्छे alumni मिल गए, alumnus मिल गए जो मुख्तलिफ जगहों पे around the globe हैं जो आपको support कर सकते हैं, guide कर सकते हैं.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. All my friends and colleagues, it's a great pleasure to be with you this morning and give you some information about how to pursue your medical career in Australia. So there's two parts basically. What we're talking about earlier presentation is how to get employment in Australia. But before you apply for the job, you have to get the registration. You have to complete all the requirement to get a registration in Australia, which I'm going to talk about this morning. So my name is Mateen Alawala. I'm not Mateen Ullah. So basically, I think there's a little bit spelling error with my name, but that's all right. I don't mind that. So I'm basically, as Rahat say, that I graduated in 1988 with Dr. Rahat. And in 1994, I migrated to Australia after have done my English examination and the MCQ examination. And so I basically, after 3 months, my brother was over there, and that's why I always have thinking about going to Australia, not to America or England. So when I went there, people talk about, oh, you can't get the job in Australia until you complete your full AMC examination, which is basically you have to do a clinical examination and you get an AMC certification. So, but my brother say, look, don't listen to anyone. You basically ring the hospitals and directly talk to the medical superintendent or their secretary. So that's what I did basically. And other guidance, what I'm trying to say is so important is to get a good guidance in the communications. So my brother say, you better call in a hospital first where you don't think you got a job. So at least you got some practice of doing the telephone interviews and how to talk to the people and everything like that, which I did. And basically he write me an introduction, how to introduce yourself, because I was only 2 months old in Australia and it was a big shock for me going from Pakistan to Australia. So basically, I got a paper and I started reading, look, my name is Dr. Mateen Alawala. I'm from Pakistan and I have done my AMC MCQ examination and I'm looking for a job. So I got a response, look, sorry, we don't have a job, but do send your CV, we'll look for it. So in third attempt, which I try, and I said, look, I read the same paper, and the response I got, they said, look, oh, your English communication skills are very good. You should get the job. And you have done AMC, MCQ, that's great. So when you can come for the interview. So I went for the interview. They offered me a job. At that time, you basically, still you can, after MCQ examination, and so there is an area of new positions. So if they cannot fill the position with the fully qualified doctors, the medical board give you conditional registration provided you complete your all AMC examination with a certain period of time. And at that time, there's a bit of shortage. I think I've been lucky. So they offered me a job, applied for the registration. I got the conditional registration. I started working 2 months' time. And in emergency department, because basically they send you emergency department first to get a multi-skills. So which was a shock for me. I never done the gynecological examination. I never done the eye examination. I pretty rusty reading ECGs, X-rays, fracture reduction. I don't have the skills of fracture reductions and the dislocation, that sort of thing. So anyway, things go on, and with the time, I got a confidence, and in a couple of years' time, I've done my AIMS examination. So basically, what I'm going to tell you today, how you get the registration in Australia. So I'm going to talk about different pathways. So how do I change the slide? Okay, next slide, please. So basically, practice medicine Australia, there's a standard pathway in which you have to go with the AMC examination. So you have to, first of all, you have to do your English test. And then once you pass your English test, you have to appear the CAT MCQ, which is a computer adaptive test MCQs. Unfortunately, there's no center in Pakistan. There's few centers in India. There's a center in Singapore, Malaysia, Thailand, and also in Turkey. So you can go there rather than you going all the way to Australia, which is a bit expensive. So you can go to Singapore or Thailand to give a computer test. But I strongly suggest that do check on the AMC website, and they allow you to go to the Islamabad and give computer adaptive test in Australian High Commission, which I did at the time. So I gave my MCQ examination in Australian High Commission Islamabad. At that time, AMC only for the Australian resident who have done their medical qualification outside Australia. This was not open for everyone. So I went over there. So do check, maybe they have some other way you can stay in Pakistan and give the MCQ examination. So there's a standard pathway which you give English examination, either you give IELTS or you give occupational English test. I don't know what's the scoring they required, but and after that you have to give computer adaptive test, MCQ examinations. Once you have passed the computer adaptive test MCQ examination, you have two options. Either you go pursue the clinical examination, or you can go apply for the web-based assessment. So there's quite a few, I give say the authorities, work-based assessment authorities, which have the hospital system, and you can apply over there and you don't have to give clinical examination. You've been assessed during your work, and they give you basically pass, and then you can apply, you can get the AMC certification, you apply for the registration. So this is the other way you can go if you don't think it's a clinical examination, which is very difficult at the moment because it all depends on the supply and demand. So at the moment, they have doctors who are very keen to come from England, South Africa, Ireland, Scotland, and every year we get 300, 400 residents coming to enjoy Australia. And just because it's a better work environment, better salary, less cost of living compared to UK. This was I've been told by the people who come from England, and they love it. And I know very few who went back. They all love to stay, and they can stay. Apply for the resident, I'll tell you in a minute. So that's the standard pathway you can go with. Then you've got a competitive authority pathway and the specialist pathway. So I'll tell you about the competent authority pathway. Next slide, please. So that's what I'm talking about earlier, the CAT MCQ examination, then you have AMC clinical examination or AMC workplace-based assessment. So next slide, please. So competent authority pathway, because in the beginning, when I went there, this pathway didn't exist. So everyone have to give the AMC examination to get a full registration with Medical Board of Australia. even the UK graduate, but they say, but they can work and come. They can come and work for temporary basis, like 2-3 years, but then they have to go back, or they have to go to AMC if they won't like to stay and continue the career in Australia. So, but that's because of that. There's a shortage of the resident doctors. You know, they say, why are we going to give AMC examination and everything like that? So now, in the last 10 or 15 years, they say people from USA, from UK, who are UK resident or have done the PLAB, they are exempted with AMC. So you go to UK, you do your PLAB, you do 12 months of like internship or whatever, the basic training, and you get a general GMC registration and you can apply to Australia. And nowadays we're getting a lot of Pakistani, Indians and Bangladeshi doctors coming through that pathway because that's the easiest pathway. Other advantage of going with competent pathway is just basically you got opportunity to stay in UK and continue your career. You don't have to come to Australia. You qualified, you got a GMC registration, and you say, look, I'm happy. I got what I needed. I'm doing a surgical training and everything. I'm happy to stay in UK. But you can, big advantage that you exempted for AMC. So when you do come to, and you know they cannot. Look, there's always a hidden, I mean, they say equal opportunity, but there's always hidden, favoritism. So when you apply from UK, they don't know who you are. And they say, look, maybe he's a guy from South Africa or Canada or somewhere. So, and he's basically working in UK for 12 months. And he basically pretty much trained, and the system are pretty much same. So they prefer to employ people who come with this pathway. Because one reason they have done 12 months training in UK and basically following the same system. And other thing is that they're coming from UK. So that's a big thing about it. So I think nowadays I basically suggest people who keen to come to Australia to continue their medical career in Australia is basically to try with a competent authority pathway. I think it's easier and is more cost effective because the living, you always have friends or families or someone you can go and stay for a little while. It's easy to get a visa compared to Australia. There's a lot of restriction, a lot of requirement to get a visa for Australia. And it's also, you get extra advantage that once you have done the PLAB, you can stay working in UK. So when you come to Australia, with the competent pathway, you get a provisional registration with Medical Board of Australia, in which you have to do 12 months of hospital work in Australia. After you complete it and pass your assessment with your supervisor of your work in Australia, you apply for the general registration and you will get your general registration. So once you get general registration, you apply for the residency because you have enough points to qualify you for the Australian residency. So you basically get Australian resident, and after that, you can do whatever you like to do. You can go with general practice. You can go with a specialized training program, like emergency medicine is a very popular program. Is pediatrics, general medicine, general surgery. Surgery is always a bit difficult because a lot of competitions. And I think for that, you have to do a bit of extra work. You have to work in surgery for training position, and then after some time you get a training position. So basically, so that's General Medical Council. Other competent authority pathway is Medical Council of New Zealand. If you basically have done your Medical Council New Zealand examination, you can basically registerable in Australia, you're exempted from AMC examination. And then you have a Medical Council of Canada, and you get medical council of Ireland. I think there's only graduates. So if you graduated from Ireland, we get a lot of Irish doctors over there as a resident, and they are really good doctors. Actually, I must say that English Irish doctors, they are hardworking. Their clinical knowledge is very good, and I think I basically say that they're better than Australian, and I think I would say English, Australian, and then we come from our people. I think the basic reason is for our doctors, the problem is they've been in the examination process for some time and they're out of practice with the clinical skills and everything like that. And it's different systems. So I think it will take some time. So we get, with the COVID, I think COVID did good for some people. So we have a lot of doctors from Pakistan, India, and Bangladesh, and that China and Malaysia and everything like that, who basically have done the MCQ examination, and they have completed the AMC examination, but they cannot get the job because all these doctors from UK come, which is basically they get a preference. But because of the COVID, the borders has closed. So nobody coming from UK, nobody coming from Ireland, and they're extreme short of people. So they give a job to everyone who have completed the MCQ examination, they got a job. So I think for our doctors, they take about a little time, which they don't understand. Look, they come from a different system, look, different language. I mean, they're good in English, but again, communication skills we are lacking. So I think the communication skills is very important to get a job and everything, how to talk, okay? Don't say sir and don't stand up when your boss come in. So I mean, when you're doing the interview, of course, you have to have manners, but this is not the culture over there, okay? So when you're doing work and your boss come and you just offer your seat, is not the way it's going. And you have to call with the name, not by sir or anything like that. So basically, our doctors take about 3 months to settle down, understand the system. I'm basically mentor for IMG, International Medical Graduate, and also I'm a supervisor for resident in my hospital. So I get all the complaint about, oh, this doctor is not very good, it's risky and everything like that. I said, look, calm down. You give her a job or give him a job, let him or her settle down, okay? Don't be judgmental straight away. It will take some time. So, and after 2-3 months, they're performing equally good, to be honest. They know they know the system and everything like that. So basically, to basically competent authority pathway is a very popular pathway at the moment, and most of the doctors we're getting from now is through this pathway. Next slide, please. So basically steps. So basically steps are you have to get your eligibility. Eligibility of your medical school as well. So I mean, not all medical schools are eligible to proceed through the AMC, like I think USMLE as well. There's certain medical school who basically not eligible to get a registration, or they allowed to give the examination. So what you need to do, if you go AMC website, you basically have where is you need to put your name of the medical school, year of graduation, and you basically send, and they tell you whether your medical school is eligible or not. So once you're eligible, then you create your EPIC account. EPIC is electronic portfolio for international credentials. So you open your EPIC account and you establish your AMC portfolio, in which you download your diploma or the degree, whatever you have, your achievement you have, your passport and everything like that, photograph. And the requirement has been, as Dr. Shazia and Dr. Nazamana said, that is have to be professional looking. Everything, your CV is very important. So you download all your documents in there and upload your qualifications and everything like that. And then ECFMG will assess your qualification and will see whether all the credentials are authentic and everything. They take about 3-4 months for them to come back to you, or they can directly inform the AMC if you tick the box that they can provide all the information directly to AMC. And then you proceed with the pathway you are eligible for, basically. Next slide, please. So basically, can you click on the flow chart, please? I don't know if it's working or not. It might be a little bit busy, but that's all sorry, probably you're not able to see it. I think that's probably all what I have said. Just go down. Yeah, go down a bit more. So as I say, establish AMC portfolio, then the AMC assess your application assess to complete, yes or no. Yes, receive ESMG, which is that, your primary qualification, recorded. Okay, and go back, just move on to a little bit on the left side. Forgot about move to the left towards me, slide. Towards me, can you move a little bit towards me? Both sides, okay. So basically exactly the same thing when you complete your MCQ examination, you have basically, you can go with a work-based assessment program in which you have to apply for the registration with the medical board, say that you have completed your MCQ examination, attach all your results and everything like that. And you mentioned that you're wishing to apply for the work-based assessment at this stage rather than going with the MC clinical examination. And they will give you the conditional registration, provided you have offer a job opportunity. So once you have registration, you apply for the job for the work-based assessment. There's also all these places available on AMC website. And you apply there, and then it's a little bit rush in that area because a lot of people going towards that. And there's basically people who are already in Australia. So rather than coming from overseas and everything like that. So I think that's probably is. The next process is basically once you complete how to apply for the employment. I think Dr. Shazia Maqsood and Dr. Nagamana have give a very good presentation. What are the important things when you're applying for the job, and CV, communication skills, interpersonal skills, and everything like that. Thank you very much. I'm happy to take any questions. Thank you.
You didn't mention about the requirements for the physicians coming from US. What are the requirements for that?
Right, okay. I think in that, I missed that part about the specialist registration process. I think in that way, you have to you have to apply for the specialist college. And they will assess you, and they say, what are you registrable as a specialist in Australia or not, depending what you have done. You have fellowship. I'm sure the medical, if you're doing it just, you have just done the board, you have to go with the process of fellowship in Australia, but you have fellowship. And then they have to assess, and they will tell you. I know there's a couple of emergency physicians come from Australia, and basically they have to go through with some process, interview process. They don't have to write the examination, but they have to be like assessment, work-based assessment for 6 months, and then they given a green signal, and they got the registration, and they're working in Australia. And they don't want to go back. I think the wife want to go back, and he don't want to go back. So because he said, look, this department, our emergency department, he said, look, at the nighttime, it's only me who was running the department. And in Australia, we have 5 registrars who basically running that size of department. No consultant required. The consultant is just need to be within 10 minutes. on call. So if anybody come with a respiratory distress or something like that, or stroke or acute MI or anything like that, they call. We live in 10 minutes away. So we have 20 consultant. So you get you have your turn. So like 1 in 20 on call. You live in somewhere. If you don't live close by, they provide you accommodation in a hotel or whatever, 10 minutes away. You hardly get calls. So sometimes you get a call, sometimes you sleep well. You paid for the sleeping, about $500. And and when you come in, you have to charge for the call-in fees.
And what about the physicians that are completing their residencies over there? Do they require some experience after the residency? Or
in America?
Yes.
Complete the residency.
Yeah,
I think they have to do the AMC.
I see. Okay.
AMC. I don't think, because the system are different, America and Australia. I think England and Australia is pretty similar. So they've been exempted. I think it's a reciprocal way as well. So there's, in America, if you have Australian qualification, you have to go with USMLE. Same way, if you have American qualification or something like that, you have to do with the AMC process.
Okay. All right. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mateen. Let's move from Australia to UK. Where is Osama? Osama is an active student during her graduation period in SMC, and he participated in many events, and he's going for he has already done his internship in UK and has cleared PLAB. So, the credit goes to our alumni for his counseling and guidance.
All right, thank you so much. And thank you so much, JSMU alumni, for coming to Pakistan and creating an opportunity here for the students and the younger generation of the SMC. And I'm grateful to Dr. Rahat Nas for arranging such a great event. And today, I have been asked to give students' perspective to the root of UK. This is in my previous speech, I have given the overview of UK pathway, and in today's speech, I'll give students' perspective, what students think, and what are the questions they have. I'll try to answer all those questions that I received back in my previous presentation. So let's start. So every pathway before start it seems like complicated, like this picture. It seems very abrupt lines and very irregular lines, but when we have insight, when we have good mentoringship like JSMU alumni, it becomes very easy. See, these are just straight lines which were seemingly much confused before I had insight of this PLAB journey. And again, I want to thank Dr. Sohail Qadri and Dr. Hassan Javed, who are SMCians, and especially Dr. Hassan Javed, who is first SMC from the first batch of SMC. So again, for this about PLAB journey. So I started very late, but again, as our seniors just said, that it's not necessarily go in the rat race. That has been tradition here in South Asian population. So I have started late, very late actually. After my house job, I started this journey. So I'm still in process of doing PLAB, and fortunately I have done our internship. That is a plus point in my CV, as well as I have few publications as well. So for better opportunities in UK also, people think that it's very difficult route, and students usually say that they won't get their desired field in UK. So it's not true as far as I know, and I have experienced that as well, because a lot of seniors from SMC have got jobs, their desired jobs actually in UK, like in surgery or medicine, psychiatry. and it's possible to get surgery. That's the major concern of all students, almost all students, because mostly the students in their undergrad life want to become a surgeon. So I would name one, Muhammad Ali Ghufran. He is from SMC as well. He have got surgical training in UK, and that's not very old news. That's very recent. Like he is there for 1 year now on a MTI program that's been initiated by CPSP. So it's possible to get the surgical fields as well. And now, since the time have been changing very frequently, and the UK also have announced some changes in the their exam pattern, so the PLAB would now be called as UK MLA. That is that would be implemented from the 2024, and there are no such great changes so far, but they'll announce all those changes very soon. And we'll also discuss the preparation. We'll just go through the preparation, expenses, and the pathway. So the journey it starts from the final years, like most of you are, and yes, the English language certificate is very mandatory for the PLAB journey to initiate. Like you need to have your English certification, that can be IELTS or OET, and there are specific bands. For example, in IELTS, you need 7.5 band overall, but in individual subtest, you need 7 band. Then OET, there are gradings in OET. You need band B for in all subtests and overall as well. Then you can go for the PLAB 1, then PLAB 2, and then so forth. But with the good mentorship, you can ace that very easily. And for any difficulty, there is JSMU alumni that would be much happy to help you out. So be in contact with the alumni, and especially Dr. Raha. She is the chair for the JSMU alumni, and she'll gonna contact you with the respective seniors and the consultants there in UK, US, Australia, Saudi, as she have mentioned, and as the other presenters have just said. So there are multiple options for students just after house job or before house job, like FY1 and FY2. And there are multiple other pathways as well for going to the UK, but they are not very related at this point of time, because they need postgraduate qualification afterwards. So the criteria is very simple for the UK. Like for FY1, this is for, there are lesser chances for IMGs because they're already very much saturation in FY1, because this is a competition between the IMGs and then the UK graduates as well. And for most of us, we'll prefer FY2, or it's called junior fellow, clinical fellow, or SHO, or senior house officer level. And it's much easier to get. And again, here also you can get surgical rotations. This is kind of house job where you are rotated in certain departments. Oh, this is again the same picture. And I have mentioned about the OET. It's a prerequisite for the UK visa as well. And for the exam, it has 4 components: reading, listening, writing, and speaking that you can do. So it's the website oet.org, from where you can book a test, and it depends upon your feasibility. For example, I have made a timeline for the medical students of final year. Like if they have done with their exams, they can give their English exam, either IELTS or OET, and then wait for a month to get their results. After passing the OET or English language exam, then they can book their PLAB 1, and there is a backlog going on for the booking of PLAB 1, and that would be sorted out very shortly, because GMC is working hard on it. and it costs you around 587 Australian dollars because it's an Australian organization that is conducting the OET. And again, for the UK pathway, it's totally up to you when you want to give your exam, because UK is much relaxed and doesn't bother upon your graduation year or your age actually. So you can give it anytime, but you need to justify your gap from medical school to the exam. Okay, and yes, again, the UKMLA. The UKMLA again has two parts. The applied knowledge test, it would be similar to PLAB 1 and would be assessing your clinical knowledge as well as basic sciences knowledge. And then they have the clinical and professional skills assessment. That would be PLAB 2 exam equivalent. Then up till now, thank you so much, Worthy Vice Chancellor. I welcome you here. And up till now, it's PLAB 1 and UKMLA. There are no certain changes that have been announced. So again, there are 120 questions in PLAB 1, and it would be in applied knowledge test as well. And it would be for 3 hours. And the biggest problem, the hurdle that comes in passing PLAB 1 is the time. That is very important because usually there are long half-page vignettes that you need to solve. And I guess half-page vignettes come in JSMU exam also, so they are preparing you well now. So you need to first set up a GMC account after passing your exam, or I would rather say make an account before even passing OET or your IELTS, so that you're much prepared and you're ready to book your exam as soon as possible. So this is the GMC website, and it's how this looks like. Okay, so this is the GMC account that would, after making the GMC account, and you would be adding your all the data here on this website on your account. So the cost of PLAB 1 that would be changed after March, it would be £255 sterling. Up today, the cost is £247, but at the end of March 2023, it would be £255. Then you have done with the PLAB 1, there are multiple resources that you can use for PLAB 1. There are many free resources as well as paid subscription. I would prefer the paid subscription because they are valid and to the point, and there are less mistakes when compared to free resources that are available on internet. So after you have done with your PLAB 1, done with your time management, you will be heading forward towards the PLAB 2 exam. That's the last step, and it's a OSCE exam basically, and it would reflect your life setting examples of your patients and mock scenarios when you are dealing with your patients. So be very kind and be very humble with your patients, because it would be reflected in your exam, because you cannot fake the humbleness, fake the empathy, or fake the sympathy with your patients. So be very kind and gentle with your patients in with whatever language you are communicating with your patients. But here you need to be communicating in English. So be very well prepared, and it's conducted in UK. So there are multiple criteria that you would be assessed, and that reflects your personality actually. Like when you are dealing with your patients, our seniors would agree that we need to focus on data gathering, the technical and assessment skills. We need to be very gentle with our clinical management skills. We need to make a formal diagnosis, but not necessarily at this junior level. And the interpersonal skills, because these interpersonal skills reflects the whole of you, and whether you are capable or not. it started as soon as you enter any scenario. Like you enter a lecture hall, it reflects how you are walking, it reflects your personality and your attitude. So for PLAB 2, it's you can do either via self-preparation, or there are some academies, but there is an additional cost for that. So I would rather prefer doing an internship in UK so that you get to know about PLAB 2 exam as well, because they teaches you how you interact with the patient, how you deal patient as a whole. And for today's price of PLAB 2 is £906, but it will be changed to 934 pounds after March 2023. So you have done with your PLAB 2 exam, then you have ECFMG verification and account formation, then you have GMC registration. That's all the registration process that you will face while getting registered with PMDC as well. So this is very straightforward. You submit your documents, you just pay the fee, and they'll verify it for you. And ECFMG also charges you, like it's 130 USD for account formation, then verification for each document that you need. And this will work for all the international medical licensing organizations. So don't be worried about that. Then these are the resources that you can use for OET, and the OET site itself provides this preparation, so you can avail their services or their other services like E2 services that you can opt for, and there are other free organizations that will provide you data and preparation material that you can prepare. Okay. I have my own YouTube account where I have provided some general information regarding OET, and I have provided some amazing listening tests that you can practice so that you get good scores as well. And I would prefer doing all the OET listening tests from there also, because they are very helpful. They're gonna help you in reading, writing as well, and speaking as well, because they're very fine-tuned. So you can go and subscribe my channel. It's called Dr. UAK. So, all right, thank you so much. Okay, and for PLAB, I have mentioned a few resources. This is Med Revisions and Plabable. There are many students that will say either go for Med Revision or Plabable, because usually we do not have much access and much knowledge about them. So you can either choose any subscription. They're equally good and reliable. Then we have PLAB 1 keys, and GMC also provides some data and some questions, sample questions as well, so that you can practice. And then we have GMC on their own website. They prefer patient.info website for the preparation, and they have nice guidelines which NHS follow in UK, but they are not accessible from here. So you can use the proxy, which almost all use. So, and there are other resources as well, then like Plabverse and 1700 questions that are now very obsolete now. So, as I said, UKMLA would be taking place from, apart from PLAB. So they'll be changing the criteria of assessment as well, but they have not recently announced when they'll be changing, and they have said that they will announce 3 months before changing. And if you are booking your exam right now, before your exam, just before your exam, like 3 months before your exam, they'll announce what changes they'll make and what are the criteria they'll put for you for passing the exam. Same English language exam requirements would be there. And yes, thank you so much. Any question that I can answer? Yes.
When I was your age, I went to UK. I had the primary FRCS, and I wanted to work there. So I was told to appear in the PLAB, right?
All right.
Because it's a basic requirement to work in England.
Okay.
But somebody said to me that since you have already completed your requirements for the Part 2 fellowship, you don't need to work for this PLAB. What you can do is just clear the FRCS Part 2 and it automatically, it is exempted. You can directly then apply for the registration. Is that still true?
Yes, it's true. And just before my starting my presentation, I mentioned that if there are many other routes for entering in UK pathway, and FRCS, FRCP is the pathway that you can opt for, but they need postgraduate qualification from Pakistan or any other country, so which needs to be accepted in the UK. And for undergraduate level, it's the PLAB pathway only.
Well, that is what I wanted to say to the students. Now, there are students of two kinds. One is a fresh graduate.
Yes.
All right, who has just done his Part 1, and that's a different story. But there are people who have done their Part 1, MRCS Part 1, Part 2, and they are working already in Pakistan. They have got the clinical experience and the surgical training that they have. And now they are almost ready to just clear the Part 3. But that will, what happens is generally, I've had many residents who go and take the pathway of the PLAB. And now there are some who are unable to pass PLAB easily. And so उनके साथ जो major issue होता है ये है कि their residency now has been broken up. उनका experience जो था वो अब old होते जा रहा है. 1 साल 2 साल वो PLAB में लगा देते हैं. उससे ज़्यादा बेहतर होता है कि they just appear for their final part, because that exempts you. So जो कि बिल्कुल beginning में primary fellowship करके फौरी तौर पे PLAB दे रहा है, that's fine. But somebody who has done his trainings elsewhere and now is ready to do the Part 2 or the final professional exam, they shouldn't be taking that pathway of PLAB. They should just rather appear. I did the same. I mean, I would have done the studies for PLAB for 3 months, and in those 3 months I was able to pass FRC's Part 2. And that exempted me.
Exempted.
So, 1 साल मेरा पूरा बच गया ना?
Yes.
So that is the pathway you should also know.
Yes, I would mention one of the students of our Vice Chancellor Mohammad Ali Ghofran, who was your trainee and who is in UK, and he is SMC as well, whom I was telling about, that he got surgical training in UK. So it's possible for the students to get surgical training in UK, and yes, there are many other pathways that you can opt for. Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Sama, for a very good guidance. Our next speaker is Dr. Harim, another shining star of JSMU, Sindh Medical College. Dr. Harim is a graduate of 2021. She got USMLE ECFMG certified last year. She has recently accepted pre-match for residency training in US. Dr. Harim, please come on stage.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you so much, Dr. Rahat, for such a nice introduction. I would like to thank you and congratulate you for arranging this event, the whole event for the whole week. It was quite informative. So, as Dr. Rahat has already introduced me, I'm a graduate of 2021. I started my USMLE journey in final year of medical school. After my graduation, I got ECFMG certified. I applied for residency match in September 2022, and I was offered a pre-match position at a university program, University of Pennsylvania, in January 2023. I accepted the pre-match position, and hopefully I'm going to start my residency in July. So there were a lot of questions that actually we had at the back of our mind when we were going through the pathway of USMLE, and we were sitting here as a third year and fourth year medical student. We were actually confused if we are going to go for PLAB, USMLE, we want to stay back here in Pakistan, or we're going to go for some Gulf countries. I presented on Thursday, and you people, students, approached me with a lot of questions. And most of the questions that I received were about how to manage finances when it comes to USMLE. Because it's a common myth when we talk about writing USMLE exams that only rich people who are rolling in riches can go and write their USMLE exams, and it is not for some middle class people or people who are not that privileged. So I would like to clarify that myth related to the USMLE pathway. USMLE pathway is more like planning things and do things at right point in time. Before your graduation, you should be so clear in your decision if you are going to pursue your USMLE journey or not. If you are finishing your house job and after that you are taking the decision, it's not really late. But when you go to US, your year of graduation matters a lot when it comes to getting your interviews. And I think year of graduation along with the scores is the most important factor when it comes to you getting interviews. How you perform in your interview, that is something, it's really different thing, right? So let's talk about finances. So from my own experience, I would like to share with you, and I think it is going to give you a bit motivation. I funded my USMLE journey on my own, independently. I started working as a freelance writer. I was interested into philosophy and other stuff, so I started approaching different journals for philosophy. I started writing for University of Colorado. So this is like giving you a tip that explore your interests, be creative. You can make your own money. You can, if you are planning ahead in time from your second year, third year, and fourth year. You can actually have money by doing different stuff on your own. So I'm going to discuss how to manage finances and how I manage my finances. So you know from the time we have got this discrepancy in dollar and rupees, and you know it has become really difficult. I would say like from 2022 to 2023, now it is more difficult. And I'm not sure if in 2024, pursuing USMLE would become even more difficult. So we need to be creative. We are not going to give up. If we have decided that we are going to go with this pathway, I think there are a lot of ways that you have and you can explore and go and knock at different doors, and you can actually earn and make your own finances. All right. Yeah, so my first tip for you is to write your exam before your graduation, both USMLE Step 1 and Step 2. Because if you're going to write your exam USMLE Step 1 and Step 2 before your graduation, at time when you graduate, you can apply for your ECFMG certification. And then you have time to go for your house job. I never ask people, never tell people to go and skip their house job, because if you're going to finish your house job, you have a lot of different opportunities to go into different countries. You can go there and start your job as a general physician. You can, decide to stay back here in Pakistan as well, start your residency training until your match results are announced. So the whole process of you starting from ECFMG identification and verification cost you around $160. After that, you need to have $1,195 for your USMLE Step 1. USMLE Step 2 in 2023 is $1,220. And then you have your OET exam that is required for you to get ECFMG certified, and that is around $455. After doing all this, you're ready to get ECFMG certified because you're fulfilling their criteria. They have 6 pathways they introduced back in 2021, and they are still eligible. They're going to announce in April if they are going to use the same pathways or they're going to do some changes into them. Then after that, they ask you to pay $1,000 for ECFMG certification. Now you are ECFMG certified. All right, you can put MD with your name. All right. So now, while sitting in Pakistan, you don't need to travel out. This is also a myth related to USMLEs, that you need to go out and then you need to spend thousands of dollars and then you will get ECFMG certified. Now things are changing. They had CS exam that we cancelled, and that exam is not going to come back. So even if you have any issues with the finances, or even if you have any issues with your visa, travel visa, or anything, you can actually get ECFMG certified and you are eligible to apply for the residency match. All right. So it's like, I would say it's like 12 to 13 lakh Pakistani rupees. Along with that, as far as our resources are concerned, our resources that we use for preparation is UWorld. I never tell people to go and spend, $500 on getting 1 year subscription of UWorld, because we are coming from a third world country. We are actually fresh graduates. We are not earning that much. So, keep your money, use your money a limited amount, I would say. Use offline UWorld. Do not go and spend a lot of money, because you'll be required that money once you go out and do your rotations. So I have included that $500 here. So you must be thinking, like why she has included like only for $500, because I think that is manageable and that's doable, right? All right. Then these are the ways that I used in order to fund my USMLE journey independently. All right. So because I had that decision, I decided it, and because I was so sure that I am going to do it, so I started working towards that goal earlier on in my third year. See, first of all, first thing is you can work as a scribe. There are scribe jobs available, and they are related to the field of telehealth. You can, it's like data entry job, and in that they're going to pay you on hourly basis, and you can actually have like around 1 lakh to 1.5 lakh per month, depending on number of hours you are going to give them. Along with that, there is another platform that is Preply and My Faith Tutor. They are very famous platforms. Here people actually make their accounts and they get their accounts updated with a nice photograph, nice introduction. You can go and teach international students in Canada, US, or UK, biology, any subject that you are good at. You need to just make your account there. You need to keep it updated, and you would get the students from there. They also pay you on hourly basis. Along with that, once you clear your first exam, your USMLE Step 1, you can actually start tutoring students for USMLE Step 1 preparation while you are preparing for your USMLE Step 2 CK. It is going to give you extra boost, and your knowledge is also going to be refined even more than your fellow applicants, because you are actually revising the stuff over and over again. Then I have a friend, she's running this Instagram page and she started making money out of that. You need to be creative in your own ways. And she funded her USMLE journey by running that page. Along with that, once you get ECFMG certified before graduation, if you follow that pathway, then you have other options to make your money. If you don't have resources to go out and do your US clinical experience and you don't have any fundings, you can go and finish your house job, or without house job, you have other options as well. So what are the options you have without house job? So without house job, you can actually apply for postdoc positions in Canada. And you can also apply for PhD positions in Canada. So the process is to find a nice supervisor. And how to find a nice supervisor? To find nice supervisor, you need to be actually proactive. You need to go to the websites of faculty, and you need to approach them via nice personalized emails, show interest in their work, and tell them that you want to work with them. And they're going to hire you like as a PhD. And PhD is always paid in Canada. They would give you work permit as well. It's like 2 years program. But like until you wait for your match result, you will be paid. You can fund your own journey. Along with that, postdoc research fellowship positions are the same, but they're hard to find in Canada. For that, like I have a friend, he started working with a professor, renowned professor in the field of psychiatry at University of Toronto. And then after 2 years of working remotely with him, that professor, gave him this offer to come for this paid research fellowship position. And then he funded the whole journey out of that. Along with that, with your house job, you have other options to go to Gulf countries. You can go to Dubai. Can go for, this is a new exam, EMRI, all right? So this exam is introduced around like 1 or 2 years back. And after writing this exam, you are eligible to go for your residency training, as well as you can also apply for GP position. And people in Dubai and the Gulf countries, they're actually writing this exam as a fresh graduates. To get into residency. If you want to get into residency in Dubai, you need to have good scores out of this exam. Along with that, you have other options to apply in Ireland. Ireland needs you to have your house job completed. It's like it's going to cost you around 2 lakh Pakistani rupees to get all the paperwork done to go to Ireland, and you can go and earn a good amount of money there. If you work there in even in 3 to 4 months, you'll have money to fund your USCEs and to fund your application process. Along with that, you have this option of Maldives. In Maldives, there is like sort of discrimination. I have heard that they hire more Indian people, but if you actually go and appear well during your interviews, Maldives also hire international medical graduates. And their pay scale is not that high, but it's better than other countries. So you can also explore this option because it's really easy. You need to just find an agent and you just need to go to them and get your paperwork done. It's going to cost you around 2.5 lakh Pakistani rupees. Yeah. So people were asking me through questions that how to stay active and how to approach supervisors and how to find good mentors. So the first tip I can give you is to stay active on your LinkedIn. Have your professional profile on your LinkedIn. Connect with as much people as you can. Start finding your SMC alumni in different countries. Make your plan, which country you are targeting, and then which specialty you are targeting. Like I was in psychiatry. If you're in internal medicine, you're in surgery. If you are interested in any other specialty, go and find people, professors in that field, and they really help. If you are going to approach them in a respectful manner, if you show your interest and enthusiasm, people do help. Along with that, Twitter is a very good resource. These days, Met Twitter, Inside the Match, Match Madness, just start following these on Twitter, and you would be updated about the match results, you'll be updated about other events that are going on. Yeah, this is something that I have been telling everyone here, like since Thursday, that plan as early as possible. USMLE is more about, I would say, year of graduation more than anything else, because this year, what I have seen and what I have experienced is people with fresh year of graduation, regardless of their credentials, get more number of interviews. And once you get the interview, I would say ball is in your court. You can perform well into your interview to get that spot. So first thing is to get an interview. And for getting that interview is, first step is to have fresh year of graduation when you apply. But what if you are late and you have never planned it, that you are going to go for USMLE and you are actually 2 or 3 years from your graduation? It's always, if you are not in the ideal situation, I would say you already have other things that you can add to your CV. You can start working remotely on different research projects. You can actually work on your scores. You can perform well. You can get exceptional scores. So these are little things that you can add to your CV. You can add volunteership experiences in US. You can have US clinical experience from university programs. So these are the things that you can actually have if you are far away from year of graduation. But if you apply as soon as possible, so you are actually avoiding that extra hustle that you'll have to go through if you apply late. Yeah, so there are up-to-date websites of all the university programs. starting from Yale, John Hopkins, Harvard, Mayo, University of Toronto, they all have their faculty members listed on their websites. Go to their websites and start sending them nice emails. Once you send them nice emails, personalized emails, know their work first of all. If they're interested in psychiatry and you write in that, I have read your work in the field of gastroenterology, obviously they'll be annoyed. They'll be like, you don't know anything about my work and you are just sending me emails. So be professional in your communication with them. Along with that, send them personalized emails about their work, talk about their work, and request them to start working with them remotely. This is how people actually start getting to know you better, and they will know you if you're hardworking, if you're trustworthy, and even at the time of match, they can vouch for you. So feel free to reach out to me. This is my email address. You can always send any queries. I'm also active on LinkedIn, and you can actually approach me there. I'm always here to give back to my own people. I was once sitting here, and now I'm realizing like I graduated in 2021, so I was considering myself up till 2022 that I am a very fresh graduate. Now I'm getting old, and I'm also calling myself, SMC alumni. I'm really proud to be here, and if you have any questions, you can always ask that. Thank you. Take care.
एक मिनट रुक जाए. आपने क्वेश्चंस का बोला और अभी क्वेश्चंस आए नहीं, आप चली गई. So I have a comment. It's a good presentation, but एक चीज उन्होंने भी आपको यही कही है. देखें, I am a supervisor of surgical residents, and I have been a principal of a medical college. So I've come across all these problems that she's mentioning. इनकी एक स्लाइड सिर्फ एक्स्ट्रा थी कि जिसमें उन्होंने फाइनेंसेस को कैसे मैनेज किया है, कि उन्होंने मुख्तलिफ इंस्टाग्राम पेज एटसेट्रा. वो जरूरी नहीं है कि वो यूएसएमएल के लिए, वो किसी भी रेवेन्यू जनरेशन के लिए. सो बेसिकली कमिंग बैक टू द पार्ट ऑफ इट, आई हैव स्टूडेंट्स हु डिड नॉट डू हाउस जॉब, एंड व्हाट शी सेड कि आपने अपने 4th ईयर और फाइनल ईयर में एफएमजीएम्स जो है इनका, या यूएसएमएल जो आप जिसको कहते हैं, वो क्लियर भी कर लिया, सब कुछ कर लिया, एंड दे हैड अ प्रॉब्लम विद द वीजा. एक लड़का था उसामा, उसका नाम की वजह से उसका फंस गया वो. मैं मजाक नहीं कर रहा, जो यहाँ बैठे हैं अमेरिका से आए हुए वो आपको बताएंगे, ठीक है. माय ओन नेफ्यू, हिज नेम इज सारंग, देयर इज नो नथिंग टू सजेस्ट कि कहीं पे ही उसके साथ लिंक होगा, मगर ही जस्ट वेंट एंड पुट हिज पिक्चर्स from northern areas when he was visiting Gilgit-Baltistan onto the Facebook page. That was what got him into trouble. So आपको कुछ पता नहीं है कि वो लोग क्या देखते हैं. नंबर 1. नंबर 2, हाउस जॉब जरूर करें. खास तौर पे अगर आप फौरी तौर पे आपको मैच नहीं मिला है तो आपको हाउस जॉब जरूर करना चाहिए. और मैं जिस जमाने का हूँ, उस जमाने में मेडिसिन एंड सर्जरी were the house jobs that were supposed to be done for any GMC or any IMC, whatever medical councils दुनिया में जो हैं, उसमें मेडिसिन एंड सर्जरी. फंसते वो लोग थे जो पीडियाट्रिक्स एंड मेडिसिन कर लिया, सर्जिकल साइट पे गए ही नहीं, या सर्जरी किया तो मेडिसिन नहीं किया, उसके साथ कुछ और कर लिया, एनेस्थीसिया कर लिया. You see, medicine and surgery are basic subjects. सारी दुनिया उनको रिकॉग्नाइज करती है. You can't work in England with an anesthesia qualification, anesthesia house job only. You cannot. So ये बात बहुतों को नहीं पता होती. वो यहाँ पर इस चक्कर में कि मुझे रिलैक्सेशन होगी, मैं एफएमजीएम्स की पढ़ाई कर सकूंगी या कर सकूंगा, वो ऐसे वार्ड्स लेते हैं जहाँ पे कोई डर्मेटोलॉजी, जहाँ पे कोई अटेंडेंस मैटर नहीं करती, या जहाँ पे आप जाएंगे नहीं तो फंसेंगे नहीं, तनख्वाह नहीं कटेगी. आप लोग करते हैं, ये आपको भी पता है, ठीक है. हमें भी पता है कि हमारे एंड पे कि आप इस तरह करते हैं. लेकिन व्हाट यू डोंट नो इज, आप जब जाते हैं वहां पर आपको रजिस्ट्रेशन नहीं मिलती, यू आर नोवेयर, एंड ईयर ऑफ ग्रेजुएशन इज इंपॉर्टेंट. सो आप फिर क्या करते हैं, मेरे पास मजबूर होकर लोग वापस हाउस जॉब करने आए. नाउ यू आर डूइंग योर हाउस जॉब विद 2 or 3 years जूनियर देन यू. इट फील्स वेरी वेरी बैड कि आपसे जूनियर्स के साथ आप हाउस जॉब कर रहे होते हैं, ठीक है. और वो उस शर्म में काफी लोग नहीं करते हैं और फिर जीपी बन के और ख्वार हो जाते हैं। ठीक है, मतलब मैं मुराद नहीं है कि जीपी बनने में ख्वार होता है आदमी, लेकिन कहने का मतलब है कि वो कुछ भी नहीं कर पाते फिर। इसलिए हाउस जॉब अपना प्रॉपर करें, ऑल एंड शुड बी कवर्ड। आप यूएसएमएल अगर आप चाहते हैं करना, तो ये किसी किताब में नहीं लिखा कि आपको वीजा भी मिल जाएगा। आप ऐसे कई है मेरे पास वापस आए हैं ना, मैं बता रहा हूँ आपको, एज ए प्रिंसिपल वापस आए हैं, एज रेजिडेंट्स मेरे पास फिर वो गए। मोहम्मद अली गुफरान का नाम लिया ना आपने, आप सिर्फ मोहम्मद अली तो नहीं था ना वहां पे, 5 लोग और भी हैं ना मेरे, और किसी भी सर्जन का वहां पे रेजिडेंट दिखा दो मुझे। आई हैव ट्यूटर्ड देम इन अ वे के प्लैब करने के बगैर भी वो जॉब्स कर रहे हैं, बिकॉज यू नो इफ यू वर्क देयर यू नो द वेज आउट। अब यहाँ पे जो इतने सीनियर लोग बैठे हैं ना, अब मसलन मैं चाहूंगा कि तकी आप में से कोई इस बात पे कमेंट करे कि उन्होंने कहा कि आपकी जो पढ़ाई है वो इम्पोर्टेंट है यूएसएमएल के। ठीक है, मेरे दोस्त हैं, ये जो अपना का प्रेसिडेंट होता है सोहेल खान वाले, जो शिकागो वाला, ये मेरे क्लास फेलोज हैं। उन्होंने आके हमारे पास एक लेक्चर लिया था, उसमें उन्होंने कहा था कि आप लोग इलेक्टिव्स करते थे पहले। ठीक है, पहले इलेक्टिव्स फ्री में मिलते थे, अब वो इलेक्टिव्स पेड होते हैं। बट व्हाट message I got as a principal sitting there was, it is not the elective, it is more research now. Am I right?
You are correct on that. Yeah.
You know,
there's a lot of research.
अगर आपका रिसर्च पेपर छपे हुए वो आपके लिए ज्यादा इंपॉर्टेंट है कंपेयर टू डूइंग एन इलेक्टिव। इस पे डॉक्टर तकी, if you would like to expand upon it.
Absolutely, I would love to do that. So one thing they need, they look into application, of course, starting from the score. Second thing, of course, all the research what you have done in the pertinent field. And the third thing that I would highly emphasize is the interpersonal skills and your ability to get along with your team members. So that type of question they ask you there, if you are in a ward taking care of a patient and your colleague is giving you a hard time, how you are going to manage the situation. So conflict resolution, communication skills. So those are called soft skills. So those are the things that you can work on. And during the interview, they will ask you in a different way, this type of question. So absolutely, you are absolutely right. There are a lot of different things you need to work on, but this few soft skills, because clinical skills, everybody has kind of standard, they know. So that's really my comment on that.
Thank you. Thank you. If there are any questions from me, yeah, there are people who are, yeah, sure, go ahead.
और यहाँ से पहले नहीं सर, ये पहले यहाँ सामने कुछ।
Assalamu alaikum. I like your speech so much, so I had few questions. I'll be so grateful if you just give an overview. I wanted to ask, as you've already expanded upon the financial issues, so I wanted to ask that since I've done my search, so the total cost they tell us that is the 5 million to 10 million. So is that true? And I wanted to ask that how much it costed you? You experienced it all, so you would know it better. So I wanted to ask that how much it cost you from part 1 till you start earning there. And I have few questions like, what are the things that we should not do? Like Sir said, that there are a lot of causes that causes the visa rejection, and that is the main thing, I guess. And what made your ECFMG certification that prominent, and what are the extracurricular things that were that stand out, and what were some things that made your certification that confirmed?
Yeah, so you've asked me multiple questions. I think we need around 15 minutes to elaborate on that. Dr. Raj, just give me permission to do that.
Just an overview if
yeah,
you
sure.
like to.
Yeah, sure. So first of all, your first question is about how much would it cost? So I would like to tell you that it is going to, it's like very, I would say it varies from person to person. Because I have friends who invested thousands of dollars because they had doing university rotations. And I have a friend from Lahore, and he actually got ECFMG certified in a very less amount of money. So it varies from person to person, but there is some amount that you need to invest when it comes to charges and fees. UNC is not a criteria for you to apply for the match. First of all, clarify this. You just need to be ECFMG certified. And for getting you ECFMG certified, you need to clear your USMLE step 1, step 2, OET, and then pay $1,000. That's 12 to 13 lakh. After that, you need to decide, depending on your expenses, if you can go out and do your rotations. People do tele-rotations as well. USCE, after graduation, can be paid, can be unpaid. You can also find unpaid USCE, but it actually takes a lot of efforts for you. If you actually are already doing your homework, starting from your 3rd and 4th year, and you are already working with some professor remotely on some research project, they will actually give you this opportunity to work and to work with them, and then write you nice LORs. So it's like that. If you go to any more opportunities, you go to Brooklyn USC, you go to USMLE, they're going to cost you around like thousands of dollars. And it is like huge for international medical graduates coming from.
She is here. आप इससे बहुत अच्छी तरह से इंटरव्यू कर सकते हैं.
Yeah.
We are short of time.
I was already thinking to ask you later.
Yeah, sure. So you can always reach me out on this email address. There are a lot of people, waiting, and then we need to wrap it up.
Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Now I would request Dr. Taqi Azam for a concluding remarks.
Professor Amjad Siraj Mehman, Dr. Rahat Nas, my JSMU colleagues sitting here, and one of the colleagues is from Pioneer Group. I would like to recognize she has been a key person for all of us. And every single time you have been, I don't know, tens and 50s, how many calls we had. Every time we'll reach her, she'll respond right away. And there's no question that nothing will not be done. If she says yes, it's going to be taken care of. So I would like you to value her, what contribution she has been making here. The second thing from JSMU point of view, we were very happy to provide this opportunity for you guys. And this is not the last one. We will continue this type of seminars, information. So the biggest thing is that, did you guys learn something new? Yes? Give a big round of applause for that, the learning session. Are you guys happy for we are 50, not you, the institution is 50 years old? I don't see any energy here. Come on, guys, let's go. So who is the hero here? It's all of you guys. So that is, मुझे इशारा आ गया है. I don't have much time, otherwise I can keep going. But anyways, thank you so much. I will just conclude by saying that thank you, JSMU, for giving us this opportunity, and our partnership will be continued. Inshallah, we are all here. Please ask questions. Don't hesitate if you have any question. Thank you so much.
Now I'm going to hand over the mic to Dr. Farah, my partner, and I would request Dr. Arif and Dr. Sabir to please help her in this. Plus, Hazik, where is Hazik? Hazik is here. सबसे पहले Hazik is going to announce the result for our poster competition.
Assalamu alaikum, everyone. My name is Mohammad Hazik Wais, and I'm the head of the JSMU Research Society. First of all, I would like to thank Dr. Amjad Siraj Beiman for allowing us and facilitating us in conducting this poster competition. Secondly, the scientific committee comprising of Dr. Huma Sharif and Dr. Tafazul Haider Zaidi and Dr. Rahat, they supervised the whole event. And lastly, but not the least, the judges, Dr. Taqi Azam, Dr. Amir, Dr. Irfan Suleiman, and Dr. Yunus, they worked tirelessly and judged really fairly to allow us to reach a conclusion. Thank you, sir, for taking out your time. And now is the time to announce the result. So the first position was won by Rumesa Siddiqui, Dua Khalid from Sindh Medical College, final year MBBS students. The topic was prevalence of hypochondriasis among undergraduate university students, Karachi, Pakistan. The second position was won by 3 candidates. First is Zohar Rahman, final year SMC, and the second position was shared by Umema Rafiq, Dr. Saima Sana Najib from Liaquat National, and thirdly, Kanis Fatma, Zunash Fatma from Institute of Pharmacy. So congratulations, guys, and we will inshallah distribute the certificates later because we are short of time. Jazakallah khair.
Assalamu alaikum. Now, I would like to call our guest speaker for the certificate distribution. Now, the first Professor Iqbal Afridi, but I don't think he is not here.
Not here.
Dr. Sarfaraz, Dr. Mateen. A big hand for him. Then yeah. Now the next guest speaker, Dr. Sarfaraz. Thank you so much, sir. Dr. Shazia, a very good presentation. Now, Dr. Osama. And Dr. Harim, a good job. Now, thank you so much. Yes.